I actually take very little interest in sport. But I see that the rest of the world are mad sports fans. And Ralph has just said that he's ready to stream with me. This is what he said. I'm free to stream this morning, but not for long, as today is a special day as our Lionesses play Germany. But he's in Germany, he's in Berlin. And I believe he has a German wife. And isn't it the case that when one is in Rome, one must do as the Romans do? So what is Ralph proposing to do? Is he going to be in Germany and doing as the Germans do, and the German would support their team? I don't even know what they're called. I know the English football team is called the English women in the English football team for women's football are called the Lionesses, but what are the German ones called? I don't even know. It doesn't even say on this. Okay. So what are they called? I actually want to know what they're called. We know that the English football team, tends to do quite well, but they always lose in the end. They lose in penalties. It's so painful to watch. So we know the female football team, consisting of English women, have been successful so far. They beat Sweden 4-0. They were supposed to play either France or Germany. Obviously, the French lost, and now the English are playing the Germans. I refuse to take an interest in sport. I know it's a form of proxy war, but I'm more interested in realpolitik, moral philosophy than in these trivial events that count for nothing. I suppose the reason why England keeps losing the war is because of their... Well, I think there is a problem. Actually, yes, you can work out why England keeps losing and why its players are peopled by Africans and the like. I mean, you will have noticed that there is no famous Indian football team, haven't you? Chinese are no good at it because I guess young people in China are more interested in furthering themselves through further education and getting a decent job than taking an inordinate interest in sport. That's why they're just no good. Which is probably a good thing. Now, why are England no good? And at football, what's wrong with them? I think the problem is to do with their parenting skills. So we know that, middle class Englishmen like to play rugby, whose rules no one understands. They call it the laws of rugby, but I know when there was this World Cup rugby, I asked a few middle class Englishmen I knew what what they thought of it and what were the games. I even lived with an Englishman who was supposed to be a great fan of rugby, and asked him, why this, why that, what are the rules? And he confessed to me that he had no idea what the rules are. No idea at all. He just knew when to cheer, and it was a collective experience when you go to a rugby match and you instantly know, without knowing the rules, when to cheer and when to groan. I have never attended a rugby match, and it is because, I never worked out the rules, and it was all just a bit of a mess, all this running around, all this tackling, all this sort of pretending to be some kind of human spider in their scrums. So it didn't really interest me that much, although I have seen in my lifetime that men get terribly excited about rugby. I prefer easy to understand sports like, I'm not sure if I completely understand the rules of tennis, but I think it's something to do with always returning the ball and not hitting the ball into the net when you are returning or serving your opponent. Something like that. But I'm more interested in, national and international affairs, matters of foreign policy and national social and economic policy. I think it is rather low of Ralph to even deign to take an interest in female football, but it could be. We know he has a wife, we know he has a daughter, and I guess his German wife and German daughter are taking an inordinate interest in female football. Presumably he is trying to make it clear that he is supporting the English side now, while when he is watching the game with his daughter and his wife, he will have to cheer the German team on, and this is why Ralph has conflicted, divided loyalties, while I stay far, far, far above the fray, lonely as a cloud. Do not take the Lord's name in vain, Ralph. You know that if I disdain to take an interest in sport as the Jews disdain to take an interest in sport, then God, who is far above us if he exists, would disdain to take an interest in sport and refuse to bless whichever team whose fans ask blessings for. I'm glad you're coming, Ralph. We look forward to hearing from you. Explain yourself and your divided loyalties. Hello, Ralph. Welcome, welcome.
Right, 1 second. Let me just make sure my audio is all good. Good morning, Claire, and God bless you.
You have an exciting afternoon ahead of you, do you not?
It's this evening, and God bless the English Lionesses. It's the ghost of 1966 once more to be reclaimed at Wembley. The English girls are just heroes to the English people. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't think so. I
You
think
don't think those wonderful women are heroes to the English people?
I think they play. I've watched a game or two, and they play quite competently. But I think it should be lacrosse, or something like that, and and they would be wearing more feminine clothing, and then the men would watch it. But I don't think many men will be watching it. I wonder what the pubs will be like. It won't be filled, or will they? I don't know.
I think the tickets are going for 1,000. Someone said they could get me a ticket, but I'm not in England, so I don't care, for 1,600. So at least obviously Wembley will be at full capacity as the nation comes behind the wonderful English women and their towering achievements. Have you seen the images? Did you see the back heel? So this is going to be
The
glorious,
the,
a
the what?
glorious.
The what?
The beautiful Russo's beautiful back heel where she sliced the Swedes apart. That composure, that calm, collected, cool Christian nation response.
Well, Sweden's a Christian nation with an established church.
Sweden has fallen. It has fallen further than England. It will be reclaimed later. Your people are throwing grenades at Swedish police officers. At least we've not fallen that far.
Well,
So
they're not my people, since I'm
I
not
thought you were
Muslim.
part of. I thought you were part of the Mohammedan clan.
Certainly not. They don't accept me. They don't like secular coronism. As you well know, and as you witnessed, E.A. Dawa threw me out of their
Oh,
stream
rightly so. They
unceremoniously.
rumble to you, Claire. They always do, don't they? Eventually, they realize you don't really care about Jews, Muslims, or Christians. You're just there to pit one side against the other, right?
No, I'm trying to unite Jews and Muslims against Christians. So,
That's never going to happen.
well, I know it's unprecedented, but I know I venture into
So
virgin territory.
while you're inhabiting English soil, don't you feel any loyalty in your blood to support 11 glorious English women
I,
in their feat against the formidable might of the German Deutsche Wehrmacht? Because the German women are superb at football.
I
So
am
don't you feel any loyalty to the English at all, Claire?
I am more interested in dismantling the American empire,
Okay. How's that?
legally and peacefully, of course. And this I
Yeah, you
can
would do it peacefully.
do through the
Women do it peacefully.
assistance of the Australians, Canadians, and New Zealanders. I will help them realize their new national identity, and it is to be apart from Britain. It is to become independent republics with their own independent foreign policy, and
So you
not
want to
to
divide the
have a
Angles?
governor general sacking their prime ministers.
You want to divide the English people as well. You realize the Australians and the New Zealanders and the Americans and our Canadians are literally part of the Anglospheric family. You
Yes,
want to
I do
make the
know
family
that. So what has happened is that
because
Australia, Canada,
blood matters, doesn't it, Claire?
well, I think it matters. Let me explain to you my plan. So Australia, Canada, and New Zealand are still technically British, and British is a US vassal state, and therefore all these British territories have been co-opted to serve the interests of the American globalists who use the resources of the British Empire.
The idea is
That is what they're doing. That is
the
what they're
idea is
doing.
oxymoronic, right? You understand it's
What is
self-contradictory.
oxymoronic?
A nation isn't opposed to a global, so the American globalism is a contradictory concept.
Well, the
But back to
Americans
the
run a
back to the
global empire. I don't see how
no,
you
but
can deny that.
because
It's not
globalism
official, of course.
because the words are nonsensical. That's like saying tall, short person.
Do you
Globalism is
deny
different.
that
No, but
America
globalism. No, because just
controls? I
simple
do.
words and simple technical terms in English. There's no such thing as a tall, short person. There's no such thing as a global empire, global nation. Globalism is opposed to nationalism. But if you go back to the root thing, you are trying to divide the blood of the Anglospheric people. You're trying to
It's already
create fusion.
divided. Two world wars
So shouldn't you be trying to
between
unite it?
The
But what
Saxons
should
in
you?
Germany and the Saxons in England.
But shouldn't you be trying to unite it?
No, I want the world to be happy in their separate nation states, because that is how people, white or whatever colour they are happiest in. They want to think that their government cares about them and governs in the national interest. But if you are
That's a
but a
tautological.
US vassal state, then Of course,
That's why
your
you're not a
government
nationalist, are you,
won't
Claire?
be governing in your national interest. It will be following the orders of Uncle Sam.
But that's why you don't understand terms like nationalism. So you use a tautological definition. You say nationalism is a government, you effectively tautologically define nationalism as a government serving in the national interest. You remove the fact that a nation is a collection of people.
It's a
And those
collection
people
of
are united, they're
tribes.
united by blood and soil, and their
Britain
history
is a collection of tribes. The tribes,
are
well, there
blood
is a
based.
tribe in Northern Ireland, there is a tribe in
Correct.
Scotland, there's a tribe
Based on
in
blood,
Wales, there's
right?
a tribe in England.
Based on
Those
blood, right,
tribes
Claire?
make up
Yeah, those tribes are
the
based in
British
blood, aren't they,
nation.
Claire? But they're based in blood, aren't they? So the Australians and the Americans, and I have a lot of great friends in all those countries, are fundamentally the Anglospheric people.
Yeah,
The
they're
Australians are
English
English
speaking.
by the sea. The Americans are the English and the Germans in the other land. They're the same family. They're not, for example, the Poles or the Russians.
No, and they're united
Yeah.
by a language, right?
By
That
blood.
is the thing that most
Blood,
unites them.
Claire. You can't deny the truth. They're united by blood, the history of their
Well,
people.
there is a reason why these illegal
Only liberals
immigrants
would think they're
queue
united.
up
Only
at
liberals.
Calais to come to England. Why do they come to England? Because I guess they don't want to
Because
be
they're
living
allowed
in
to come to
Italy
England.
or Germany or anywhere else, and they learnt English. They didn't learn
Because of their
German in
blood.
their Afghan or Syrian
It
schools.
was in their blood, Claire.
What's in
It is
their
in their
blood?
blood. They are blood. There is no people without their blood, their genes. The English, the Americans, the Australians, New Zealand, and Canadians are
Yes,
brothers
yes,
in
the
blood.
white, well, we
No, the
know
other
of
white people.
Saxons as white
No,
people, but
the
they
other
have
white
been
people.
known to fight wars with each other.
But you know, Elizabeth, but brothers fighting don't differ. You don't seem to
Well,
understand.
Cain
They're
and
not,
Abel.
but they're not Russians. They're not Slavs. They're
We
not
don't have to
Poles.
fight people just because we're
By
not the
blood,
same racism.
blood, ethnicity,
Nations
not
have been
race.
known to cooperate with each other, which is why Russia has this idea of Eurasianism. In
But
in
that's
the
an
last
idea.
century, it
Ideas
was
are liberal, Claire.
Pan-Slavism.
See, this is why you're liberal, Claire. Ideas are liberal. Blood is real.
That's nonsensical. Ideas existed before the
Yeah,
French
but ideas
Revolution.
codifying a nation around an idea is the definition of liberalism.
Nonsense.
Codifying a nation
Maimonides
around blood.
was
Let
Maimonides
me
a
educate you.
liberal? Was
Let
the
me educate.
Rambam a liberal?
So there's a little lag. So when we speak, we have to give each other a little extra time because I'm in Berlin. There's about a second lag between us. So we look like we're speaking of each other. It's just because of the lag. No, because the English people and the Anglospheric nation are a nation united by blood, first and foremost.
Do you think the English are united in
By blood with the
themselves?
absolutely. I have got English friends in America. I've made Australian friends in England, Australian friends in California. When I lived in California, I had lots of Aussie friends. They're united instinctively by the fact they are
Nonsense. What
cousins.
about the EU referendum?
Why
Britain
do
is a
you jump all over
divided
the place? What
nation.
about the EU referendum? Yeah, the Europeans, English people, are not Europeans.
Yes, but the British are divided amongst themselves because the
That's because
EU
of their
referendum was such a close result.
that's because of their fallen state of liberalism and
Yes,
progressivism.
and I propose to replace liberalism with secular Quranism.
Forget
And you are not
forget secular
supporting me.
Quranism.
I
Forget
demand to know why you are not supporting me and going back to the
because Mohammedanism and
foolishness of
Quranism.
liberalism and
Because why would
Christianity.
Christians support a foreign religion?
No,
Why
no,
would we?
it is in the
No
national
European person,
interest of the British
is ever
to.
going to adopt the Quran, Claire. Only freaks. The only white Muslims are freaks.
It doesn't
Islam
matter.
is a
Once upon
religion.
a time, Christians were freaks too. Do you remember anything of Christian history? They were persecuted for 300 years.
Yeah, but the Christians resolved that by slaughtering every pagan and converting
No,
every
no, it had
European
to
to
be adopted
Christianity.
by Constantine first.
Yeah,
Don't you
but
remember any? Don't you know any Christian history?
I think I know a lot more Christian history than you because I'm a Christian. You're just a tourist. You're not part of our faith.
You don't actually know
You're not
much
part
about
of our
Christian
faith, are
history
you?
at all. You can pretend. Lots of Christians don't know anything about Christian
Well, I don't
history
know
and
about
make
these
a
other
point of not
Christians.
knowing about it because they don't want to learn the burnt and bloody history of
But
Christianity.
why should they learn about a foreign faith?
Because Christianity
Why?
is no longer working and
That's your
therefore it has
delusion,
to be
isn't it, Claire?
replaced.
That is your delusion.
Well, how is it Delusional
because
to
for
point
something
out
to
the
be
obvious.
no, I can let me show you how.
Prove to me how
There's a delay,
Christianity
Claire,
is
so we must give each other time because of the delay in the internet lag. I'll tell you why. What a delusion is. A delusion is when a person has an idea that is detached from reality despite evidence to the contrary. I
I
use English
agree.
words. I use English words as defined in the dictionary. A delusion is someone who believes something in contrary to evidence as reality. Here's the evidence of reality. Christianity is the world's largest faith. Christianity is the world's most powerful faith. Christianity is the world's richest faith. The European history of the European people and all white people is a history of Christianity, and it is the most powerful dominant religion in the world. So when you
It
make the
won't be
claim,
forever.
hang on a second, Claire, when you make the claim Christianity is over, you are deluded because your claim is not connected to reality. That's the definition of a delusion.
Okay, tell me what are Christian principles? Right.
The principles as taught by Christ. The
What
most
are they?
powerful, the most powerful principle deep in our ontology is selfless, unrequited love.
I don't see
Selflessly
any of that
serving.
in the Archbishop of Canterbury, do you?
I don't. You're talking to me. Don't run away from other people. Forget the Archbishop of Canterbury. You're talking to a true, extremely right-wing Christian. The deepest principle of Christ is selfless service in unrequited love. To give to others
whom
without
have you?
expectation of return. To serve others is the source of the power and the glory of Christianity.
Whom do you serve?
Me, I serve God, King, and country.
Well, there's no king.
I serve God, King,
You're
and
the
country.
delusional one, if you talk about.
Why? Why?
Because
Is there
there
a
is
King of
no
England?
king. You
Is there a
don't
King of
even know.
England?
But maybe I should ask you
See,
who the Prime Minister
this is what I mean, Claire, when you're detached from reality. Is there a queen? Is there a monarch in England right now? Yes or no?
Yeah, and and the
Yeah,
monarch is a
sorry, I did hear you. I did
female.
hear you. Did you say yes?
Yes, the monarch
Okay.
is a
So
female.
if I say I serve the principle of the European people of all of Christendom, I serve my Ethiopian brothers, I serve my Nigerian brothers, and I definitely serve my European brothers
How
in
do you do
Christ.
that?
I serve that by selflessly fighting for their rights, in this case, to stop demographic replacement.
Which
So my
means you have to
single mission
support
is to prevent
anti-immigration parties.
demographic replacement of the European people in Christendom because it is a God-given right for the English to run England. It's a
Okay,
God-given
so
right for the European people to own their lands.
so you support nationalism. You are a
No, I don't. I'm
nationalist.
not a nationalist. I'm a Christian absolutist. Nationalism is like it's like a little subcomponent. I'm much more a right wing than a nationalist. I'm the most
Well, what is the
conservative
difference
position
between a
politically.
Christian nationalist and a nationalist?
A Christian
Sorry, a Christian
nationalist.
absolutist and a nationalist.
Yeah, Christian nationalists and nationalism only cares about blood and soil for their nation. They don't have an international model. They don't have a multipolar model. A Christian nationalist is a nationalist who wants a nation under Christian positions. I'm a Christian absolutist.
What does that
want
mean?
I want a single, absolute, non-negotiable worldview with
What is
Christendom
that?
and God at the top.
What's
All the
that?
world's people organized under the principles of God. So nationalism would be one of the small components underneath that.
Okay, so you want Christian globalism.
No, Christian absolutism. I'm using the correct word. Use the words I identify.
All right, but what does Christian absolutism mean?
A single absolute, i.e. non-negotiable, fundamental worldview that is not negotiable or alterable or dilutable in any sense of the word. Underneath that worldview, I will support different political ideologies as it is appropriate for their part of the world. So, for example, I will support the Islamic Republic of Iran because they have the right to decide that their own theocratic religion is responsible for their positions. I will resist any efforts to bomb Iran. Let the Muslims live in Iranistan with their Muslims and let none of them come to Christian lands. An absolute worldview. There's no negotiation with my worldview.
But
You
what
will
is
know
a
your
Christian?
place.
So your Christian absolutism means that. I mean, all you've said is you won't bomb Iran. I mean, what can you define Christian absolutism and the worldview that
Sure.
you say Christian
Easy.
absolutism supports?
Easy.
And I still don't know what it is.
Easy. So absolutism means that there's no negotiation with the worldview. There's only one universe given to us by God, and God has commanded us how to live it. Absolutely. No
All right.
negotiation.
So-
Absolute. Inside that absolutism, there's 650 ethnicities badly organized in 200 nation states, breaking up 7 races. But the Bible is clear, and the Bible, and I'm a Christian absolutist of the worst kind your nightmare would have. No, God has made it very clear that to live in peace and prosperity, we must live at decent distance apart from each other. Any attempt to mix them, secularism, liberalism, globalism, is anti-God. So I want Pakistan to be the Islamic Republic of Pakistan for Pakistanis. I don't want any non-Pakistani to tell the Pakistanis what to do, just like I don't want a Chinese secular atheist to tell English people what to do.
So you don't believe in free speech?
Free speech is a liberal idea.
It's actually a Quranic idea. Chapter 2, verse 256.
I don't care. We don't care about the Quran. You care about the Quran, but you don't really. Otherwise, you'd have taken your Shahada. So no one believes you because you don't take the Shahada.
No, I'm more useful to Muslims as a
You're not
non-Muslim
useful.
because there are
No, the
things I
Muslims
can
despise
do as a
you.
non-Muslim that they dare not do.
Yeah. Christian absolutism. I'm not interested in the swords of Mohammedans speaking. God bless all the Muslims. I wish them peace and prosperity in Islamism.
But you will be removing them from the country, even those with British
I
passports.
won't remove them. I won't remove them at all. I will do something much better than that. We will reclaim power for the English people. We will incentivize them to remove themselves. We can remove them. We can remove them without using force. They arrived with force. They arrived as a consequence of liberalism. They will be removed by the glory of English political revolution. The glorious revolution that is coming, Claire, the one you're not aware of, will make them want to leave themselves. Let me give you a simple example. If you remove freedom of religion and you cannot build a mosque or a Hindu temple, do you think the Muslims will remain?
So you intend to repeal what the Americans call the First Amendment?
Correct. Well, I wouldn't have to repeal the First Amendment. What I would do is repeal incrementally progressive legislation that allows a minority to tell the European majority what they should do.
Who's been telling whom what to do? And can you give an example of a minority telling...
Liberal, secular, progressive legislation, the Equal Opportunity Act, the one that allows you to speak without a guardian. Freedom of religion. What does that mean? That is blasphemy to the English and European people. It's blasphemy to the Americans and the Australians.
No, the American Revolution was about repealing.
Well, we scrap it. Who cares about these French revolutions? They have not served
It's the American Revolution I'm talking about.
But fuck the American Revolution. Look at what it's done to America. America's
that's why I'm proposing to dismantle the American empire.
You can't dismantle anything. No one supports you.
Well, I think it is in the interests of Australians, Canadians, and New Zealanders to realise their own unique geopolitical interests.
Let the ego go, Claire, and think of the principle. The principle is this liberal malaise, this destruction, has not served the European people. It has not served the blood and soil and spirit of our Germans.
We are agreed about replacing liberalism.
We don't have to replace it. It's not a black and white thing. We start incremental, gradual repeal of all these laws.
How do you propose to do that?
We just repealed Roe versus Wade. If you ask me what the solution is through political power.
Yes, how do you intend to achieve political power?
Well, there are plans of people to do such things.
Of course, there are always plans, but
they're very advanced plans. They're very advanced plans. And the idea here is
but nobody's heard of it.
The only thing is, a lot of people heard of it, not you. The only way thing left back in, the only thing we have left of the 3 stovepipes of power is one man, one vote. The only thing the globalists have, the Achilles heel in the Death Star, if you like, is one man, one vote.
I have been proposing to abolish indiscriminate universal suffrage for years.
No. The things without power are just speculations. It's like urinating in the wind, a bit like secular colonism. The only thing the establishment does not, fears the most is power. They fear power. The European
they
people
fear the power of the press. The power of the media, of social media platforms.
These are liberal secularites. No, the glorious revolution, the power of the people. In 1688, the English people laid down a principle that changed the whole world.
The
1688 was the
Protestant
Glorious Revolution.
Revolution, the Glorious Revolution, is it?
Correct. So it's time for the next Glorious Revolution, Claire, in which the British people have had enough. European people have had enough. White people have had enough of being told by these people how they should live their
Which
lives.
people are you talking about?
Talking about the European people.
Can you give an example of which people telling the
The
majority?
globalists, those who are opposed to the best interests of European people, those who oppose to the best interests of
Are you
Christian
talking
people,
about the Jews?
those opposed to
by
the best
any
interests of
chance?
white people.
Are you talking?
You are not.
I'm
You
not
don't
sure
operate
who
in the
you were
best interest.
talking about. Are you talking about the liberal establishment?
All the people,
the
think of a field.
neocons, the
No,
neoliberals?
think of a field. You're looking for labor. Think of a field. On one side of the field, I'm going to be the people who are for the European people's blood and soil and spirit, by which I mean the European family, whichever nations they are, under Christianity. And the other side of the field, neocons, Muslims, Chinese secularists, gay people, I don't care who they are. My dividing line is, are you for the blood and soil and spirit
Plenty
of the
of
European
white people are gay and
They
like
don't
these
understand. Oh no,
things that
white,
you
it's not about white
disapprove
people,
of.
Claire.
So
White
you can
people, they
only
need to.
divide people ideologically.
No, Claire,
Racism,
that's
red
a liberal.
herring.
Nah, that's a liberal idea to divide people
No,
ideologically. I don't care. Listen, Claire, there's a delay. Please bear with me. There's a delay in the stream. No, I don't care if a white homosexual is white. If he's on the other side, he's also in the enemy camp. I'm not racist about it. There are white people who are betraying the interests of European people. They also sit with you and the others. But on the side of the conservative Christian are those that believe that the glory and greatness of European people is the blood and soil of the European people under God. Those people are my people. And I don't care what color they are, I don't care who they are. And those are the people we defend in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, France, against all of you on the other side. Ideologues, liberals, secularists.
There is an inconsistency in your idea because, you just
It is
agree.
absolute. There's no inconsistency.
No, let me explain it to you. So you said that there's white people on one side, and then there's all the
No, there
others,
isn't. No,
the non-whites and the
no,
homosexuals.
Claire, I didn't say that. No, Claire, don't put words
That's
in
what
my
you
mouth.
were
I did.
talking about, the cows in a field or something.
No, yeah, but Claire, you don't. No. I said there
And
would
then
be
you said you
white
didn't
people.
care if a white person was homosexual. I'm
No,
saying
Claire.
within the white people there are
No,
subversives
Claire, you don't. I
within
think
the
you don't
white
understand.
race.
Claire, I think you don't understand. So listen clearly. I don't care if a white person is white if they're opposed to this idea. They're also in the enemy camp.
Yes, so you can
So it's not
only
race. So it's not race, right?
identify people by their ideological leanings.
Correct. Are they on the side of blood
Because
and
you
soil?
are yourself mixed race, and your
But
children are
forgive me,
also
honestly,
mixed.
I'm not like you, Claire. My vanity means nothing. I serve God. That means I will serve my European Christian brothers like I will serve my Ethiopian Christian brothers.
Yes, but
I'm
then
not racist. I don't care about the race of the people.
you
I
are
will serve
not.
Ethiopian Christians in Ethiopia.
But Christianity is on the way out. You can point
Again,
to
that's a
many
delusion,
numbers
isn't it?
of Christians,
That's a
but their
delusion,
belief
isn't
is
it?
weak.
Remember we went through the definition of delusion? That was a delusional
You
statement.
never said on what matter I am
Correct. So
deluding
the
about.
delusion is clear. Listen once again. So anytime
Yes,
you repeat it.
no,
So
it
remember
is
there's a
not
lag.
delusional to think that Christianity is kaput.
What is
Because,
it? Do you know what a
Tim
delusion is,
Bowden
Claire?
in the chat yesterday agreed with me
I don't
that
care what other people agree
Christianity is
with you.
kaput and he's a Catholic.
I don't care about what people say. I care about the evidence. A
And the
delusion.
evidence is that Christianity is
Okay,
kaput.
Claire, here's what a delusion is. Once more, would you agree with me? A delusion is a statement made that denies reality. Would you agree with that statement, Claire?
Of
Yes or no?
course, I've already
Good. Stop,
agreed with
stop
you.
there, Claire. Stop right there. So you agree with me that a delusion is a statement that goes against evidence.
Of
Christianity is the world's most powerful religion. We have the most money. We have
Yes,
the most wealth.
but where are Christian
If you
principles
look at the
being
110
supported
listen,
by
Claire,
Western governments?
they
I am
don't-
asking you a question. We've been through this before.
Yeah,
I know you can point to, the Pope in the Vatican. You can point to all these cathedrals. I'm saying they're just artifacts.
I don't care about artifacts. The idea is the most powerful. If you look at
Yes,
the
what
120.
idea? What Christian idea
Claire,
is
Claire,
powerful?
there is a delay.
Let me
Claire,
ask you
Claire, when I
again
speak,
what
when I
Christian
start
principles
speaking,
are.
Claire, when I start
List them,
speaking,
please.
Claire, when I start speaking, the reason we're speaking over each other for the 5th time is there's a 1-second delay on the internet. So please
You won't answer my questions.
I will, but there's a delay, so we speak over each other. The most powerful idea is if I audit the 120 million books in the Smithsonian Institute, for example, in the world's largest, in the US Library of Congress, the most powerful idea since the arrival of Christ is Christianity. Christianity is determined Milton. There'd be no Milton and Shakespeare without Christ. There'd be no Bach and Handel without Christ. There'd be no modern musical
scale. I do not deny that. I'm saying it's a spent force.
Hear me out. No, for you to say it's a spent force, you must evidence it. You have no evidence. I'm giving you evidence after evidence.
That it is in any way effective.
Let's test your evidence. Who's the richest people in the world?
No, it doesn't matter.
There will
always be rich people in the world.
Why are you running from reality?
I'm not running. I'm talking.
So
I'm asking you about Christian principles.
Who are the richest people in the world?
I'm asking you about the leadership of the Pope and the Archbishop.
You're going to jump around. We're going to do the point to the point.
And they are liberal. The Pope is liberal. The Archbishop of Canterbury is liberal.
You're making claims you can't substantiate. Who are the richest?
Christianity is conflated with liberalism by the historian
Who are the richest people? A simple question. Who are the richest people in the world? Who controls the world?
I don't even know. Okay, who's the richest person in the world?
Christians.
No, name one.
Christians control 60%.
Name one rich Christian.
Christians control 60%.
Name one rich Christian.
Claire, you're not understanding. Who controls the world wealth?
It doesn't matter because they do nothing. They do
Claire,
nothing.
You see what I mean? You're denying reality.
Yes. Okay. So
who are the richest people in the world?
Name one wealthy. Name one billionaire Christian.
Claire, you are not answering my question.
Let's go for Trump. He's a billionaire and he's Christian, isn't he?
What's he
done? Is he a powerful
this is your
man?
problem. You're very, it's very difficult for you, and that's why everyone shuns you, because you run around like a mad person, not addressing points. When someone pushes a fire on you, I'm asking you, I wouldn't say on one point, who controls the most?
I do not accept that just because there are
who controls the most wealth in the world?
Christianity governs the rules.
Who controls, which faith controls the most wealth in the world? The answer is Christians at 60%. Do you know who the next biggest faith is?
I don't believe in these measurements. It doesn't because.
You don't believe in the measurements? You're denying reality.
No, because basically Christians.
Okay, who is the
Christians
largest
never
faith in the
stand
world?
up for Christian principles. And when you ask Christians what Christian principles are, they go silent. So what are Christian principles? I ask you, what are Christian principles?
And what was the answer I gave you?
I can't remember. It's because it's not.
So hang on a second. You claim to argue against Christians. You asked me less than 4 minutes ago what was a Christian principle, and I gave you the core principle, and you can't remember it.
Well,
is this a short-term memory?
Well, because it was nonsensical.
What was the answer?
I can't remember nonsense.
Sorry, Claire. Again, for the 8th time, we're speaking with a 1-second delay, and then this chat will not understand you. I'll go away, and you'll be left with one person. So listen to the delay in the chat. You asked me, what is a Christian principle? I gave you the core tenet of our faith. You can't remember it.
Can anyone in the chat remember it?
Can anyone in the chat tell me what I said? I'm sure give them a second and they will. But why can't you remember it? Because you have a disease in your brain.
You might as well have given me a row of numbers for me to remember. Of course I won't remember your mobile number.
Hang on a second. You're claiming you don't remember things and you're claiming to speak with any intelligence when you have no memory.
Whatever answer you gave, I didn't accept it or I didn't understand. You don't know.
How do you know what answer I gave? You can't even remember it. Your brain is like
I kept asking you what
was the answer I gave you?
And you gave me some waffle.
What was the answer I gave?
I gave you something about some non-negotiable worldview, and then I tried to ask you what that non-negotiable worldview was, and you said something about not bombing the Iranians, and that's it. It's completely nonsensical.
Okay, shrieking aside, now wait for a few seconds for the delay and don't interrupt each other. That was my answer to the question on absolutism, not the principle of Christianity. Do you know what the deepest principle of... If you claim Christianity is kaput, you must know something about it. What is its deepest principle? I gave it to you. You don't know what it is.
You gave us some waffle about unrequited love.
There you go. It's not unrequited. The word is unrequited.
What?
Do you know what unrequited means?
I don't know what. No, it's a new word or a word that you are
misspelling
and mispronouncing.
Welcome to the English language. So it is selfless, unrequited love.
It's unrequited.
Now, do you know what that principle means? What does the word mean?
Unrequited is pronounced unrequited. I know about these things.
What does it mean? You said you didn't know what the
It's
meaning is. I'm
not.
sure you've looked it
Okay,
up.
unrequited love is when you love somebody and they don't love you back.
Indeed, and there is the answer. Now, do you know what the answer for the deepest Christian principle is? Will you deny the answer in the
The
future, or will you be
Trinity.
no? It isn't.
It's the
No, it isn't.
religious obligation to believe that Jesus is
No,
God.
it isn't.
That
No,
is
it
the
isn't.
only
No, it
Christian
isn't. How
principle
are you?
that anybody can agree on.
No, it isn't. I told you what the deepest principle of Christianity is, and you didn't remember it. Now we've repeated it
No, no, no.
again.
You said it was something about unrequited love.
Correct.
And
I
that
said
is not
selfless. I
what
said
other
selfless.
Christians would
I
agree
said
with you
selfless,
about.
unrequited, if you like, unrequited love. Do you know why that is?
It's just rubbish you've made up. It's not
That's just a Chinese annotation. Do you know the meaning of the question? I don't care about your annotation. I'm asking if you know the answer.
Oh, that, what question is it? What,
Why is it selfless, unrequited love?
I think you're talking about martyrdom, aren't you? Christian
Very
martyrs
close. Whose martyrdom am I speaking of?
the martyrdom of Socrates did it.
No, they would
Jesus
be before
is
Christ.
reputed to have done it.
They were before Christ. So it couldn't be that, could it?
No, but the
It starts
principle
with
is
Christ,
there.
doesn't it?
Well, Socrates was the first one who died for a principle.
I don't
If
care about
he,
Socrates. He was not Christian. They were all
yeah, it
pagans.
doesn't matter because obviously Jesus,
It does
took a
matter
leaf
because
out of his book.
look at Greece today. It's a shithole
Yeah, because it was pagan.
because they gave up Christianity. Who cares about Socrates and Plato? The world, the glorious of the European people under the glory of God.
Well, empires declined.
So back to the principle again. So now that you're understanding slowly as I'm educating you about both English language issues and Christianity.
Unrequited love, I'm afraid.
Yes.
You're the one who's
Yeah.
using the word.
So not
You've
even
obviously
back.
never heard people say
So
that,
now
which is
do
why
you
you
now
mispronounced it.
So now did you understand the deepest principle of Christianity? You
No,
can see
the
it's
deepest principle of Christianity is the Trinity.
How would you know that? You're not a Christian. You're not even European.
Anybody can work out what it
No,
is
it isn't. What are the three
that
conditions that
Christians are
make you?
supposed to
What are
believe
the three
in.
conditions that make you a Christian?
You have to believe in the Trinity.
No. What are the three conditions that make you Christianity? Wrong.
You have to believe in the Trinity.
Wrong. Try
Okay,
again.
well,
Have you got any other
give me
answer?
what you think is the correct
What is the
answer.
first principle that makes you a Christian?
That you believe that Jesus is God.
Wrong. What is the first first principle that makes you a Christian?
Why don't you tell us?
So you speak a lot about something you don't understand.
Tell us what you think is the correct
Any
answer
Muslim,
then.
Christian, and Jew will agree on the first principle that makes you a Christian.
The requirement to believe that Jesus is God, to believe
Wrong.
in the Trinity. Well, tell us
Wrong.
what it is then if you don't think my answer is correct.
To fear and love the God, our God with all our hearts.
That comes of the Old Testament.
Thank you.
It comes of the Old
So
Testament, so
didn't
it's not
so
even
you-
original
You claim
to
to speak. You
Christianity.
claim. Interesting. You speak a lot about
What you're
Christianity.
saying is from the Shema.
Sorry, Claire, for the 11th time, and I speak, you have a 1 second delay. So you claim to speak a lot about Christianity, but you didn't know the first principle. Do you know what the second principle that unites all Christians are?
You tell me.
Do you know?
Well, I don't know what you're going to say. I'm going to
I'm going to
say
say
the
the same thing
Trinity
that every
again.
Christian on the planet of
It's the
any sect will
Trinity,
agree
the
with.
Trinity, the Trinity.
No, the Trinity is your obsession. What is the second principle?
Tell us. Why don't
So you
tell
don't
us?
know. I'm happy
Well,
to tell
I
you,
don't
but
know what you're going to say. I don't know what
I'm going to say
nonsense
the
you're going
same
to come
thing.
up
I'll
with.
say the same thing. I'll say the same thing every Christian on the planet will agree with me on, because we did taught it at Sunday school. And what is the second principle? You don't know. Okay. The second principle is Christ died for our sins as the Son of God. Do you know what the third principle is that closes all Christians, be them Orthodox, Catholics, or Protestants? Do you know what the third principle is that unites all Christians?
Go on then.
You don't. I'm just pointing out to the audience that Claire speaks a lot about something she knows nothing about at this fundamental level. That the only path to salvation is through Christ's grace alone.
Well, you have to
So the
believe
three
all
things that unite all Christians is we believe in God, and we fear and worship God. Christ is his son, and he died for our sins. And the only path to salvation is through his resurrection and accepting him. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, you have to believe in all that, though.
Correct. Like you believe in your rationalism.
Well, Jews don't agree. Muslims don't agree.
Who cares? We're number one.
Well, not for much longer.
That's a hope, isn't it?
No, it's
Hope
not
is
a
a
hope. You
left-wing
don't
value.
even know. But
Hope is a
I think.
left-wing
Look,
value.
I know you grew up in England, so you must know how the English think of their Anglicanism, don't you?
What's, of course I know. Look, we don't
What do
care.
how would you
Yeah,
describe in a
we have,
word
yeah, we
what
have
the English think
Anglican.
of
Listen,
Anglicanism?
Claire, we
Do
have
they take it
Anglican.
seriously? Do they?
Claire,
Do they?
may I answer? But remember that for the 13th time, the 1 second delay, we have the Anglican Church accepting homosexuality, accepting migrants in. They've made churches community centers.
Precisely.
It's a fallen church, and it will be reclaimed. Every time the church was fallen in history, we let it fall, we burned it, and we reclaimed it.
When did you ever do that?
Every single time across
Give me a
European history.
historical event that is authority for your proposition.
What do you mean?
Well,
Do you know
you
anything
said
about
every
the
time
Holy
the
Wars?
church
Do you know
went the
any?
other way. Are you
So,
talking about the wars of the Reformation?
correct. The Reformations, the schisms, every single schism, every Reformation has been Christians slaughtering Christians who are not good Christians.
Oh dear.
But remember,
It
this is
doesn't
nothing
sound
to.
like much
But
fun
see,
for
but you see,
white
Claire,
people
this
then
is
after
you.
they've
This is
kicked
Claire,
out
but this
all
is.
the
But you.
non-whites.
But you see a problem, Claire. This has nothing to do with you, isn't it?
Well, it's nothing
You're
to
not
do
a
with
European
you
woman.
either. It's nothing to
No,
do with
I
you
am a
either.
Christian. I am. I'm a Christian. It has everything to do
Well,
with
and
it.
Christianity is kaput, and you have to
That's a
acknowledge that
delusion,
as a
isn't it?
nationalist.
But that's a delusion you could not defend on a
Well,
live
why?
stream. Why could you defend your delusion on
You
a
just
live stream?
agreed with me that the Archbishop of
That doesn't mean
Canterbury and the
Christianity.
Church of England have been taken
No, it
over by
doesn't. That's so
foreigners.
what? So what? In the meantime, we've got
So that's
400
why it's
million
kaput.
again for the fourth notice, and we've had 400 million African Christians joining them.
Yeah, and
If
what?
hang on, so if liberalism collapses and if Christianity collapses in the West, mass immigration is going to flood Europe.
It's
It's going to
already
flood it. It's going
happening.
to flood it with hundreds of millions
No.
of African Christians who will never rob, never steal. Fundamentalist Christians, not the Africans you're used to. So if it
Well,
falls and burns, listen, if it falls and burns, Christendom will still survive. The European people will suffer, but the European Christians will survive. And they'll be replaced by other Christians that will restore the place because Christianity will not fall. You seem to be caught in some secular idea of a nation state as opposed to
obviously,
Christendom.
yes, I am.
Yeah, because you're liberal.
My ideas are grounded in practical politics, not some.
You mean you consider secular Quranism practical?
Yes.
How
If
come no
adopted, it
one?
would solve
How
all
come no
the
one is
problems.
practicing it, including yourself?
No, it can't be
How many?
practiced
No one
because
is.
it hasn't been
How many people are
adopted by the
practicing
government.
secular
It
Quranism
can't be
today?
practiced because it hasn't been adopted.
It will never be adopted. Therefore, it is not practical by definition.
Never
In
say
English, it
never.
cannot be practiced. So therefore, it's not being practiced. So therefore, it is not practical, right?
No, it's not. It hasn't been adopted
It is
because
not practical. It's purely
most
theoretical.
Westerners are neurotic. They can't
No,
even
it's attack
discuss a
white people
subject.
again. Attacking white people again.
Yeah, well, it's true. I have to
Why
tell
do you
them.
attack
I have
white
to tell
people
them
when
what
they
their
say?
problem is. I don't.
You don't
I
have
don't.
any idea. White people hate you, Claire.
I know. They hate the truth.
They hate you. You're a
They
little
can't
Chinese
discuss
boy
it.
in battle for the enemy.
Yeah,
You're
and the
anti-white.
reason why
You're
you pander to
anti-European.
them is because you're too afraid
Because
to
you
tell them
can't
the
pander to
truth.
them because you're inferior, right? You don't like them. They don't like you. You're not European. You're not white. You're not Christian. But you bat for the team that is anti-white, anti-European,
No,
anti-Christian.
I don't
You
accept
play
the term
Jews
that I'm
against Muslims. You
anti-white.
play Jews against
I
Christians. You
deplore
play
the
Muslims against Jews.
racialization of speech.
No, you just divide and conquer. Like,
No,
see, when
no,
the snake entered the Garden of Eden, listen, when the
I
snake
would
entered the
prefer the
Garden of
term
Eden,
anti-white to be
you're anti-white.
anti-patriarchy.
No, you're
How about
anti-white.
that? It's
No,
not
it doesn't matter.
anti-white, it
It
is
doesn't matter what you label yourself.
anti-patriarchy.
I could self-identify as a black woman. Doesn't make me one. No. When the snake entered the Garden of Eden, when the snake enters the Garden of Eden, people don't really understand the notion of the Garden of Eden. The evil of the snake entering is not just the snake in the garden. It is really the snake in your heart. Those who understand Scripture, Jews, Muslims, Christians, will understand this principle. The devil enters your heart. The snake enters your heart. You have entered Europe. as a
So have
consequence of
you. So have you.
and you are
But
snake,
you
but you
want
serve,
you want white
but you
people
serve the
to
snake.
continue
You serve
ingesting
the
the
snake, don't
poison
you?
that is poisoning them, and I want them to
No, it is not
stop.
poisoning, it is purifying them. You are the
In
poison. You're the
what
snake that
way? With
enters.
a
Listen,
liberal
listen. I talk to
church?
the AA Dawa people, Claire, and I talk to the Jewish guy often. I talk to the Muslims. The Jews won't touch you because they know all you're trying to do is get them to beat up on Christians. And Jews know that they should be at peace with their Christian brothers and sisters.
No,
The
well,
Muslims
yeah,
won't
I
touch.
know,
The Muslims
I
won't listen.
know.
Allow me to finish, Claire. The Muslims won't touch you because you're trying to
Yeah, because they're scared. They're
corrupt and
scared.
pollute their Quran with your snake-like movers on their
They are
text.
scared. The
No,
Muslims
they're
and
not
the Jews
scared.
are
They
scared. They
recognize the
should be
snake.
shamed that I,
They
of all
recognize the
people, am
snake,
doing
Claire.
what they
No,
fear to
Claire.
do.
Let me
What
help
he
you, my dear. Claire, let me help you. Religious people are very good at detecting evil. We know the snake when we see it. You're like a snake slithering around the garden. Hey, Jew, let's get the Christian. Hey, Muslim, let's get the Jew. Hey, Jew, let's get the Muslim. Hey, black people, let's get the white people. Hey, homosexuals, let's get head. You're the snake in the Garden of Eden.
All I'm saying is that Jews and Muslims who agree on the oneness of God should call out the idolatry of Christians. What's
Yeah,
wrong with
and
that?
but what did the rabbi tell? A rabbi told me the same thing he would tell you and say the same to the Muslims and say to the Jewish guy, what is worse, an idolater or an atheist?
Same thing?
No,
Of course it is. The same
no,
thing.
it isn't. So you wouldn't know because you're the bottom of the pile. An idolater has a false belief in true God.
Christians are idolaters.
Your mama is an idolater,
Christians are
isn't she? What
idolaters.
does your mother practice?
Buddhism is an
She's an,
atheist
is your mother,
philosophy, but
so are you born
that's
of
a,
idolatry? Are you conceived in idolatry?
well,
Is your mother
is
an
Chinese
idolater?
ancestor worship
Is
idolatry?
she an idolater? Yes or no?
Well, if you call them Buddhist idolaters, it's sort of half true.
Have
I
you
mean,
seen
on the
all the
one hand,
idols of
it is
Buddha?
called an atheist
Have you
philosophy. On
seen
the
the
other hand, you
physical?
can see
Have you
Buddhists
seen the
praying to
physical?
Buddha.
Have you seen the physical idols of Buddha everywhere in the
Yes,
East?
yes. So
So are they
I've already said
idolaters?
yes and no,
Are
and
they?
I've
Are
already
they?
said
So you're
atheists are also
conceived.
idolaters. All
So
right.
you're conceived. So you're conceived of
I don't.
idolatry.
I have never denied but that I come from a Buddhist background.
So you're not Buddhist, idolatry, right? You come from idolatry. You were
And
conceived out of
I would
it.
also agree that atheists are also idolaters,
No,
and
they're not.
Christians are
Atheists.
certainly idolaters.
No, atheist is a lack of belief. So I
No,
triple
no,
checked this.
I have said recently that atheists are
So
people
atheists are
who
underneath
worship their
idolatry.
own dumb opinions.
No,
That's what
but
I said.
atheists like yourself are under idolaters. You're at the bottom of the bottom.
Look,
You were
if
conceived of
the Abrahamic God
idolatry.
exists,
You were conceived of an idolater in the womb of idolatry, and you came out into this world as an idolizer.
well,
And here you
I'm
are
not
in
a Buddhist. Am I
England.
promoting Buddhism?
And
No.
yet here you are in England,
Yeah,
telling
lots
the
of people
land of
are
the
in England.
holy, or the land of the holy in Christendom, or the land of the glorious English people. It's dividing the Anglosphere,
Well, the
trying to get
fortunate
Australians to fight with English people, trying to get Australians to detach from their English
Well,
glorious
yes,
heritage.
in order to dismantle the global American empire,
You
obviously.
couldn't dismantle a wicker man, could you?
Well, obviously, I won't be able to do it without the cooperation of the
So the
Australians,
real question
Canadians, and New
the real
Zealanders.
question a lot of people have is what fuels your hatred of European people?
I don't hate the European people. I hate wrong
I mean, you
thinking.
live off
I
them,
hate
don't you?
wrong think. Let's just put it like that. I hate the fact that the civilization I live in are comprised of neurotics suffering from their neurosis of denial.
But your
That is
mother
what I
does it.
hate,
But haven't you
and
have you
it
spent any
kills them,
effort on your
and is
mother?
killing them.
But why don't you spend? Have you spent any effort on your mother curing her vitalism?
No, why
Why
would
not?
I? But no, because
Why? Why? So
my
hang on a second.
energy
So your
and
mother's
time
an
is better
idolater, right?
directed at dealing
But
with a
why don't you
problem
solve?
at source, So
But
the problem
shouldn't you sort your
begins
own
in
problems out
Britain.
first? But shouldn't you sort your own problems out? Shouldn't you clean your own house before throwing
No,
stones?
my home is in Britain. The problem originates from Britain.
No, the
I
problem is
am
people
in
like you
exactly
are
the right
allowed to.
place
People
to
like
do
you have
it.
been allowed in.
You
Look, the
just want
wolves have
me to
been.
leave the country and leave it to the likes of you to just keep telling these poor the benighted British people who don't know any better to keep taking their poison.
Why poison? There's nothing poisonous for the glory of
It-
God. The English people have a glorious
Christianity has
history.
poisoned the entire West. When
Only
it
because
failed,
only
liberalism
as a,
took
only
over.
but only in the eyes of an atheistic woman, Chinese woman born into idolatry. You're
I
an
am
atheist
a
Chinese woman
moral
who was
and
born into
political
idolatry, right? Your mother
philosopher.
was an idolater, right? You're born into idolatry. You came into this earth as a product, a victim of idolatry.
Well,
Yet here you are,
actually, she went to.
ungrateful to the English,
Well, I am
ungrateful.
I am trying to perform a service to the British by telling them that they've gone wrong.
But
I mean,
what if they
obviously,
told
people
you,
like you are too afraid to tell them because
I am not, the only thing I fear,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm an
because
atheist, I only fear the
you
Lord. The
think
Lord is my
2,000 years
shepherd,
of
I shall not fear.
Christianity is
Yea,
too
though I
big.
walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil.
You think
I don't fear anything except the Lord, Claire.
you fear the truth.
I don't fear the truth. I am a subscriber to the Logos. There is no truth-bearing proposition in the
The
universe that
Trinity
is
is
not,
not the Trinity is not logos. It is obviously not
according to a
logos.
Chinese traitor, it isn't. But this is not a faith for the Chinese people. The
The
Chinese people
Chinese
should do
people have
Chinese things.
no religion. Do you realize that the Chinese people have no religion?
They have a strange form of a pagan dharmic Taoism that they pretty much kind of co-evolved with the Indians. So if you look at the principles of Confucianism or Taoism, they're very, very similar to dharmic principles. And let them be. But you're here in Europe. You're here. Every breath you take is because of the glory of the English people. Every little piece of food you munch on is served off the table of the history of the English. Yet here you are defecating on them.
I do not deny that I am a product of the British Empire.
But you spit on it.
I'm merely
You
pointing
hate it.
the
You
right
hate the
way
white
to the
people.
British people and pointing out to them what should be obvious, that Christianity is kaput. Because
But that's
as
a
you
delusion,
yourself
isn't it? You couldn't
admitted
defend that
earlier,
claim.
that
Claire,
the
you could not
Archbishop of
defend your claim.
Canterbury is liberal,
Claire,
the
you could
Church
not
is
defend your
liberal.
claim, could you? You could not defend that claim right here.
What
You were
claim?
just you could not defend the claim that Christianity is kaput. Every time I gave you evidence,
I
you
have
screeched.
explained to you. I can't help it if you don't
You had your
understand my
evidence would
answer.
hold up in a court of law, would it? You just screech and scream.
I'd be happy to defend myself.
You wouldn't.
Yes,
You're
I
not even
would.
trained
I
to be a
would be
lawyer.
delighted to have this conversation.
No, you
this
wouldn't.
exchange
No,
in
no,
court.
no. But I'll tell you what. You would only do it under the pain of punishment. I want to see how much you would defend it in the case when you feel that they're punitive measures, not some liberal idea. You can
You'd like to burn me at the stake, would you?
No, because you just run your mouth, don't you?
So do you.
Oh, but I don't do it. I do it in service of God, King, and
I do it in
Hero.
service of
Of your ego and your narcissism.
No, not at all.
Yes,
I
you are.
acknowledge the existence of the hypothetical supreme
No, you
authority.
don't. Why did you use the word hypothetical?
Yes, I do. I
That's
respect
that's
the
the
feelings
snake in the
of
Garden of Eden.
agnostics
The
and
hypothetical word
atheists.
is the snake. As soon as you introduce the hypothetical word, it's how the snake slithers into the sentence.
Well,
You
if
slither
the
into the
hypothetical
sentence with a
supreme
snake-like word.
authority exists in
Do
reality, then he would be the
you accept
Abrahamic
God
God.
exists? Do you accept God exists?
I certainly accept that the concept of God exists.
No.
And
See,
that
the
is
snake
enough.
slithers.
That is enough.
Watch the slithering of the snake. Slither snake.
You can keep talking about, slithering
This
snakes.
is the light. You say truth, logic, and
It
morality.
do- it
I'm
doesn't- it
shining the
doesn't
light
prove
of the
anything.
Logos. This is the light of the Logos in defense of the English people, the ethnic English.
Yes, I do defend the English people who
No, you
who
don't. You're
don't
batting
know
for the
any
enemy.
better and who have
You are
nobody
batting
to
for
tell
the enemy,
them
Claire.
anything.
The English people know you bat for the enemy. You bat for the Mohammedan. You bat for the
Well,
homosexual.
I'm saying that they should
You
have
bat for the
a
enemy
better
of white people.
They should have a better religion, and fortunately
Why
for
do
them,
you hate
a
white
better
people?
religion exists.
Why
a religion
do you
better
hate
than
white people?
Christianity.
Why do you hate white people so much that you
I
would
don't hate them. I'm
live in
trying to
that
save
house?
them. I'm
Well,
trying
you
to save
hate,
them from the poison of Christianity.
No, the Gospel of Matthew is quite clear. We should know them by their fruits and spirits. Or if you're an atheist, I would refer you to right-wing economics. In the Austrian school, the theory of revealed preferences. Your revealed preferences is hateful to the English.
Yeah, but they're all Islamophobes.
So you are hateful.
They are Islamophobes, but
No,
they
forget
haven't
they.
got
You
anything better. They can't
don't
deny
slide, don't
that
slither.
Christianity is
Do not
kaput.
slither and slide. You, I don't care about other people. Don't label groups. Speak about yourself. You
I
are
do.
hateful. You are hateful
I
to the English.
deny that I hate the
But
British.
remember
I
the
am only
theory of
trying
revealed
to save
preferences. I don't
themselves
care what you
from the
say.
failure of a
I will judge you
religion
by what you
that
do.
failed centuries ago.
I
That's
will
why it
judge
was
you by what you
replaced.
do. I will judge
That
you by
was
what
why it
you
was
do.
replaced
You will be
by
judged by your behavior,
liberalism.
not by your thoughts, Claire. You will be judged by your actions and your deeds, by the fruits and spirits, shall we know
I'm
them.
happy. I'm
Your
happy for
fruits
this
and
to be
spirits and
done.
behavior are anti-white, anti-English, anti-European, and anti-Christian. And at the slight drop of the pen, you will bat for the enemies of the white people, the enemies of Christians, the enemies of Jews. You bat against the Jews too. You think
Do
you can
I?
manipulate the Jewish people? You think the Jewish people are stupid? Do you think they don't see
Some
your
of them
truth?
are.
Oh, I sit in Jewish groups and they know exactly what you're up to.
Which one?
You will never be allowed into such Jewish groups.
Exactly. They're too
You
afraid
will
to
not be
deal
allowed
with
into
me
such Jewish groups.
directly.
You will not be
Have you
allowed
got
into
any
such Jewish groups because the Jews
rabbis in
know the
your
snake
Jewish
in the
groups?
Garden of Eden. The
Does
Jews
any
are way too
rabbi come to
obedient.
your channel?
Why would I don't? I don't have a channel anymore. I've given it up
Well,
months
it's still
ago.
there.
Oh yeah, because someone's taking it over. I don't care. I'm not using it. I don't care. I'm not into vanity. But the point is, the Jews see
So you
right through.
dissociate
The
yourself
poor
from
Muslims, the
your
poor
pandering
Muslims, the
to
poor Muslims.
racists and
The,
anti-Semites and
oh, but you're not.
Islamophobes.
Oh, but you don't like racism, do you? When I asked you, will you deport and deal with non-whites, you immediately became liberal.
No, not at all. I'm saying the
Okay,
only
so will
people
you
that
deport?
we
Will
can
you deport non? Will you deport non? Will you
deport
deport?
would be illegal
Will
immigrants.
you deport? Will you
You seem
deport?
to be
Forget
saying
legal,
that
Claire.
you're
Yeah.
going to be deporting people who already have British
So
passports.
you don't bat for the side of the native Brits, then, right?
What?
You do not bat for the side of the native Brits, right? You're saying
I am only on the
if a
side
hundred
of
thousand, if a hundred
justice
thousand, listen to me,
and morality.
if 100,000 Asians and Pakistani people were given legal rights to remain, you would never consider rescinding those rights, right?
I'm certainly not going to do
There you
anything
go.
without due
There
process.
you go.
Thank you for letting me emphasize the point that I
So you're
am a
liberal.
stickler for due process. No, due process isn't a liberal thing. It is
Okay, so let's
actually
say
one
change
of
the
the
law. So if I
laws,
did change the law,
one
Claire,
of the no-hide laws.
so then if
Actually,
I changed the law in England and I said every citizenship has a right to be, what language would you like as a Mohammedan? Or every citizen's right has a right to be abrogated, and that was made legal. Would you support the right to remove people under law?
I am not going to propose the removal of anyone other than
Boom,
illegal
boom,
immigrants.
boom, boom. So you don't bat for the
Because I
English.
do not intend to take anyone's citizenship away from them without due process.
Because you don't
Thank you
bat
for
for the English.
emphasizing the fact that you don't believe in due process. I think people will have greater confidence in me because I believe in due process.
No one is going to listen to a Chinese woman batting for foreigners.
Well, who's going to listen to an elderly Asian
I don't want people to listen
claiming
to
to
me.
be a
Oh no, Claire,
Christian
there's a difference between you
absolutist
and me.
while being unable to cite anything other than what Christian beliefs?
No, Claire, that's the difference between you and me. Your narcissism wants people to listen to you. I don't want anyone to listen to me. I want
Why
people
are
to
you
listen.
here?
I want people to listen.
Why do you have
I want people to listen to the British people. I want the
the
British
British
people's
people are
voices to be.
neurotic, confused,
And then
and
you got anti-English again, anti-white
well, it's
again.
true.
You're
I serve the
anti-white and
truth.
anti-English.
I serve the truth.
You serve, you do not serve
If
the
it's true
English.
that
You
the
do not
British
serve white
people are
people.
confused, it's my duty
You do
to
not
point
serve
it
the
out.
Jews. You do not serve the Muslims. You do not serve the Christians. You serve yourself, Claire.
I
You
serve
serve
what
the
I
idea in your
believe
head,
to
don't you?
be the hypothetical supreme authority.
A hypothetical, says the snake. Hypothetical is the
I
adjective of the
follow the
serpent.
rules. You have none to follow. None but the rules that you make
Oh,
up.
don't you worry about me. So you see, Claire, the reason for the treason that you exhibit is because once you lost God, all you have to serve is the vanity and the ego of your thoughts. Your thoughts you feel in your head delusionally give you some sort
I
of
just think
legitimacy.
you can't get over the fact that I am indeed challenging 2,000 years of history and 250 years of
Why? Is
liberalism.
there
I
challenges
think,
for
you know, that's
2000?
what you can't
Why?
understand. I don't mind admitting that this is what I'm trying to do.
But of course you're trying to do it, but you don't. You sound like you're doing something original. Atheists. I speak to high IQ atheists on Clubhouse. They're not doing anything we haven't seen for 2,000 years. The smartest rabbis have challenged Christianity from the advent of Christ. Christianity has been challenged for 2,000 years. People challenging Christianity a dime a dozen.
Yes,
It's such a
but
common
I
thought.
propose a
It's a common
solution.
thought. It's a
I
common
don't
and
just deny
ordinary.
the you know, I don't even deny the existence of God. I'm saying that we must obey the moral imperative to obey God's laws, even though we doubt His existence. That is my position.
But you don't. But you're hypothetically. It's like a. Do you know what I mean? It's like an immigrant who comes to England and he doesn't care about England and English, and suddenly we call it Claire magic soil theory. As soon as he's got his passport, he says, "I am British now. I am now very British. What do you like about British fish and chips?" There is no blood and soil and spirit that is truly a honorable guest. In the same
Well,
way,
I'm the one who.
you're doing the same thing with the Noahide laws. You don't really fear for them. You don't really care about them, or you'd be curing your mother of her idolatry.
No, no, no.
Why aren't
I
you
mean,
curing your mother of
I
idolatry?
have my political priorities.
You have no political
Like, my
priority.
political priority is to make sure that the message of secular Quranism is delivered and acknowledged by the people it is intended for, which is really the entire West. Particularly the Americans,
Why
because if
would
the
the West?
Americans were to adopt secular Quranism with
Of course they
American
will. Why would they accept
characteristics,
the Muslims?
then
Why would they listen to
would follow
Muslims?
suit.
The Americans spent years bombing and fighting, and I lived in the United States. I was in America. I was in Palo Alto in the morning of 9/11. After 9/11, no American worth their salt is ever going to fucking trust like a Muslim. I'll tell you that.
Well,
And there you are
Americans
trying to
need to
sell the
acknowledge
Americans
the
as the great
Islamic
European
roots of
people.
their
You're
American
trying to sell the
republic.
great European people the enemy?
Well,
Really?
there is a White House Quran. It belonged to Thomas Jefferson, who
So
drafted
what?
the Virginia
I've got the
Statute of
collective.
Religious Freedom, which later became the First Amendment. So either the Americans care about their First Amendment or they don't.
But that's just another delusion you had. I have the collected works of Das Kapital. I've never been a communist.
So are you saying that Jefferson never read the Quran?
I'm saying Jefferson was a traitor to the American people.
Oh, so you're denouncing Jefferson, who
Absolutely.
drafted the
And
American
Benjamin
Constitution.
Franklin.
Are
Any
you
good
expecting
Bible
the
fearing American
Americans to?
Christian,
So
any good Bible American fearing Christian would denounce Jefferson and denounce Benjamin Franklin as traitors to blood and soil and spirit
why?
because they rejected Christ. They were traitors. They're responsible. They're
Well,
the
they believed
reason for
in
the
God.
treason that allows America to fall. Their edifices should be burned and replaced by good Christian presidents. Traitors to Americans, traitors to the puritanical white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that built the glorious United States of America.
Uh, so do
Treacherous.
you think
Burn
Franklin?
them.
Do, do you
Right?
believe that Franklin and Jefferson believed in God?
Traitors. They were traitors. He was a deist.
So it means that he believed in God.
He had
Well,
a, did you know about the Jefferson Bible?
yes.
Sacrilege.
Tell us about the Jefferson Bible,
Personally
Val.
take him to my basement and I would personally sit down with a cauldron and the gospel according to St. John and I would extract a fucking confession for him. That's what I would do to that
Why
man.
don't you tell the chat about the Jefferson Bible? I don't think
Yeah,
they
I'm
know
sure you
anything.
would like to. Hang on a second, Claire. Why don't you tell them about that? I just need to deal with a simple call which won't be more than 30 seconds. You do with that. I'll be
Okay,
right
I'll
back.
read the chat. And what does the chat say? So I don't know why Mr. Hat, who is Colin Colenso of Australia, is saying Christianity is on the right. What evidence have you got for that? So Jim Bowden, who's Catholic, who agreed with me yesterday has changed his mind. That's a trouble with so many Europeans. They can't make up their mind about anything. So while they might agree with you wholeheartedly one day, the next day they will change their minds. Whatever you think of London and its racial composition, Jim Bowden, London is in England, and you may remember saying that there will always be an England. Now, Mr. Hat, I was telling Jim Bowden yesterday, towards the end of our stream, what the Trinity is. All right, so you listen to the end of it, and you'll know that I have solved the mystery of the Trinity. And no, Colin, it's not what you say it is. The Trinity is a metaphor for two becoming one, male and female, feeling and desire for forming a union. Gospel of St. Thomas, line 22 refers to it. It's complete nonsense. You don't know anything about Christianity. Now, Colenso, Mr. Hat, you should know that Jim Bowden is a frequent visitor of Luke Ford, and he met Luke Ford when Luke Ford was in Australia. So that's probably why you think you know him. I remember Luke saying that he'd met Jim. I tried to ask him about how Luke's visit went, but he didn't get round to telling me. It was a bit confusing, our discussion, but there were points when Jim actually agreed with me.
I'm sorry about that, Claire. I do apologize. I had to deal with that call. So.
That's all right.
Have you entertained the chat?
Yes, I'm reading through their nonsensical comments.
Oh, they're all nonsensical, but I think the majority of them are white.
No, it's mostly Jim Bowden talking about...
Jim Bowden looks like, I've spoken to Jim in my stream, he seems like a solid, good Australian Christian God-fearing nationalist. My kind of Australian. Reclaim Australia. Australia belongs to repel the Chinese invasion. I had a question for Jim. I listened to him on the other stream. What would you rank as the top enemy for the Australians? Muslims, Chinese people, or atheism? And you see that his answer is going to be 1, 2, 3, all of the above. The Chinese are trying to enter Australia, and they're bringing with them Somalis, right? Australia.
Why would the Chinese bring
Christian
Somalis?
resistance. We need a Christian Anglospheric resistance in Australia, and God bless all my Australian Christian brothers and sisters. Stay strong. Reconquista the lands you built out of nothing, the lands you made out of nothing, that you built a great nation of Australia under God, king and country. Reclaim Australia, my dear man. Yeah, there you go, Jim. You do what you know. You do what you know is right, Jim. It says so. Reclaim them. Show them no mercy. Do not entertain a single thought from these heretics that have entered the land. Right? I mean, I don't know what the state is. My Aussie mates tell me they're fucking running around like feral animals in Brisbane and in Sydney and Melbourne. Right? Meet them with the sword. If they don't accept the book, they will kneel or be made to kneel. This liberal idea, just burn it. I don't care what their opinions are. You will accept the book or you will feel the sword, right? This is the spirit that made Australia, turned it into a barbaric place, into a glorious Christian nation.
It was a penal colony, for God's sakes.
A penal colony by the great Anglospheric people. You think Australia would be as great, as beautiful as it was if it had been, founded by some other nation?
Well, we don't know, do we?
The best of English stock, right? God bless the Australian people.
Well, Australia is the land.
Australia was built out of a desert, out of a backward, barbaric place. The Australians constructed a beautiful first world nation under Anglospheric Christian principles. Anglo stock built Christian nations, and then the liberals allowed the Chinese to come in, Jing Chao, Mi Bai O, and then they brought with them roaring hordes of others. The Australians have to prepare themselves for weeks and peace.
Why do you think they changed the White Australia policy?
Liberalism, the treason
I
of
think it was a
reason.
problem of demographics. They just didn't
Correct.
target enough
When you
people
let
to
the
do the
foreigners
work.
in, when you let non-Christian foreigners in,
Well, they
it is just a
keep
question of
doing that for some reason. Why is that? Why do they keep
because of the
doing that?
weakness. Because the
And then
weakness.
they stop
Because
people from complaining.
the only thing you guys fear is force. You get terrified at
I
the idea
see
of
that you are
force.
promoting violence, Ralph.
Force, absolute force. Do you
You
think
can call it absolute
Christianity? Do
force,
you think
but you are
Christianity is turned the
promoting
other cheek,
violence,
Claire?
aren't you?
Do you
Aren't you,
understand
Ralph?
Christianity and
Aren't you,
violence,
Ralph?
Claire? Christian, do you understand
Is this what
Christianity
you
and
want to
violence?
be known for, promoting
I don't
violence?
want to be known for anything. I want to die anonymously. But do you understand that Christianity and violence go hand in hand?
Of course, we
I did
know.
not come
We
to
all
bring
know about the
peace.
Crusades and the wars of
Jesus
the
Christ,
Reformation.
Jesus Christ said, I did
There
not
is a
come
reason
to
why
bring,
Europeans are the most warlike
wait
people in
wait
the
for the
whole
delay,
wide
Claire.
world.
Wait for the delay, Claire, when I start. It's a 1 second delay. It's the 16th time now. I did not come peace to the earth, said Jesus. I came to bring a sword to turn mother against father and brother against sister. Christianity totally sanctions violence. This liberal idea of turn the other cheek is a liberal corruption of true Christian teaching. We are allowed to use force. We are allowed to use bellum justum and bellum sacrum. We're in a condition of holy war where white European nations are being invaded from outside and corroded from within. Of course, we're allowed to use moral Christian force. It is taught by Christ and it's taught in the scriptures.
Well, I'm saying violence
And
is
we
not
don't lose our
necessary if you
battles.
have the moral system that would restore the patriarchy.
Yeah, there's no patriarchy without God.
And I'm using the book of the hypothetical supreme authority, which would be God if he
Hypothetical is the
exists.
snake word. Hypothetical, I keep pointing out, is where the snake slithers into the sentence.
Well, if the hypothetical supreme authority exists, then he would be God.
Snake word. Snake word. Look,
Call it whatever you want, but I intend to respect the beliefs of agnostics and atheists.
I don't care about the respecting the
whom
beliefs of
I-
others. Respecting the beliefs of others is a liberal idea.
Well,
Look,
I
the
can
glorious
resolve-
people of the book start with the Jewish people, and us God-fearing Protestant evangelicals will quote Genesis 12:7, Genesis 15:18, Genesis 17:8, Genesis 28:4, and say blood and soil and spirit for the Jewish people is in the state of Israel. Blood and soil and spirit for the European people is in the European lands. And God bless all the Muslims. They can have their Muslim stuff in Muslamistan.
So you are proposing to deport all British Muslims? Are you?
I'm with
is
you.
that
Why-
what you propose
not just
to do
not just
if you
Muslims,
became
not just
absolute
Muslims.
monarch?
I don't hate any Muslim. I cannot hate. I'm a Christian. I would like to incentivize themselves to deport themselves.
Right.
Why would I have to deport them? All I have to do, for example, is remove freedom of religion, and 70% of them, if they're good Muslims, will just leave of their own accord.
Okay. Well, we'll just make it
Would you
official
support
that this
repealing?
is what this is part of your political manifesto.
I don't have a political manifesto. I'm not a politician. Why
What
would I
are
have a
you?
political?
What are you? What are you, Ralph?
I'm a servant of the God and Her Majesty's realm. I serve Her Majesty's realm under God. That's what I am. I'm a servant of the realm. By realm, I mean the Christian English realm and all other Christian nations.
You do know that the British have changed their religion more than once, don't you?
That's only because they've allowed freedom of religion. Repeal
No, it
freedom
was
of
through
religion
Congress.
and repeal freedom of religion.
Well, that would mean repealing the First Amendment, which is a secret
We don't have a
cow
First
of the
Amendment.
West, isn't it?
There's no First Amendment. We don't have a written constitution. You know that. You are
I know,
half
but
legally.
Americans rule the world.
I'm not talking America. Just
and
talking
you are.
Don't jump. Snake, stay
Well,
still.
the First Amendment, well, some would associate
Forget the
that
American.
with a sacred pillar of the
No, but
American Republic.
let's not
You
snake hop.
propose to topple it, do you?
I don't need to topple it at all. All I need to do is do what I need to do to ensure that the English people, the British people, English being a proxy for the 4 tribes, that the English people have their sovereignty restored, and then the British people will do what is British, and the rest will sort itself out. All I need to do is do my small part.
But what you
to serve that realm.
propose will entail violence.
I don't like violence. Look, let me give an example. I was in Budapest, for example. I spoke a lot to Viktor Orban's people. Do you know how Viktor Orban got most of the Muslims to leave? He didn't use force. He didn't use violence. He just used the law. He, for
Yeah,
example,
and I'm
implemented zoning. He
afraid.
implemented zoning laws. He made the planning permission for mosques to be 30 years. What happened to all the Muslims who were pious, the good Muslims? They just left. We
Yes,
don't
but
have to.
what is happening to Viktor Orban now? He's being,
He's on
well,
fire. He's on fire. God bless Viktor
well,
Orban. He has made it
Hungary
very
is
clear
only
that
a
Hungary
little
is a
country.
Christian. He has made it very clear. I talk to Orban people. I have very good friends in Hungary. Orban people, Orban has made it clear.
We're calling him
Hungary is a
racist now.
Christian. Hungary is a Christian Hungarian nation, a nation for the Hungarian people under Christ. I told you, I sent you an image, Claire. If you go to the Statue of Heroes in Budapest, if you look at these amazing, glorious post-Habsburg bronze statues, 30 feet tall, to the glory of St. Stephen I, who led the martyr, who led the Crusades. Hungarian blood and soul and spirit is for the Hungarian people, not the Poles, not the Russians, not the Nigerians,
But that's a
definitely not the
past.
Muslims.
That's a past.
It is the present. If you opened your mouth like
Since
this in
Stefan,
Hungary, you would get slapped up.
well, more threats of violence again.
What's wrong with violence? What's wrong? Only the matriarchy is against
Reasoned
violence.
and
The
reasonable
patriarchy is for
people
violence, right?
should
You
use
understand, Claire, the
sound
patriarchy.
arguments.
But Claire, you understand the patriarchy is towards violence. The people who resist violence are the matriarchy. Which side do you want to
No,
get?
no, there's plenty of violence in the matriarchy.
But
But,
no, I'm talking about real violence. The one that
well,
would, for
I am
example,
aware
the one that
of
says if you
war
spoke this shit,
and
I'll tell you what,
crime.
Claire. If
I
you
am
spoke this,
I'm aware of war and crime. There will be violence in either society, but it depends on
no, but
who gets to mete it
patriarchy is
out and
force.
why.
You don't understand political theory. Patriarchy is force. So let me give you an example. If you spoke this nonsense in Budapest about Christianity, you would be smacked. If you spoke this nonsense about diluting the Quran in Pakistan and Islamabad, you'd be burned.
I'm not
If you went
asking
to
their
India,
permission.
if you went to India and you insulted Hinduism,
Well,
you'd be rubber. Listen,
I
Claire, you'd be rubber tired before the
well,
end of
I
the day.
have no intention of doing any of those things. My
Good. You only
message
come
is
this.
directed to the British people
You
and
want
to
to hurt the British
Westerners in
people, right?
general.
Only because you can get away with it,
No,
can't
I
you?
mean, secular Quranism was created to solve the problems of
No one wants a
Westerners.
Mohammedan. No one wants
Yeah, I
Mohammedan
know, but
thinking.
they're all Islamophobes, and to suffer from Islamophobia is to suffer from an
But you have
irrational
Christophobia.
hatred
But
and
you suffer
fear.
from
The
Christophobia.
Westerners are
But you
neurotic
suffer
they
from
and suffer
Christophobia, don't
from a
you?
learning disability. They can't
You have a learning
understand
disability, Claire,
what
isn't it?
is the
So
problem.
is Christophobia a learning disability? Do you have a
It's
learning
idolatry.
disability?
If you believe in the Abrahamic
But
God,
underneath, your
you
mama is
would
an
have to
idolater.
renounce
But
and
your mother is
denounce
an idolater.
idolatry.
Your mama is an idolater, isn't she?
Yes, but my mother is
You were born, you were
only one
conceived in idolatry.
little woman.
You're
I
a
am
product of
talking
idolatry.
to the
But you're a
ruling
product of
classes
idolatry.
of the
You
Western
are a product of
establishment.
idolatry. But you're a product of idolatry, aren't you? You were born
So are
from
you.
idolatry.
So are
I'm
you.
not. I have Christian blood when I
Christianity
2000.
is idolatry, I'm afraid.
No,
That is
it
a
isn't.
problem. That is why it is cursed by God.
That's just you and your fantasy.
You can't deny the
It's a
idolatry of
fantasy.
Christianity.
You can't deny it's idolatry. Of
Yes,
course we
it's
do.
idolatry. You worship a
I'll tell you what, you
man.
can prove me wrong by producing a single Christian on a live stream.
No, of course
Yeah,
I
I will
can't.
agree with
There's
you.
no point
Listen, Claire,
referring
Claire,
to other
listen to me. Let
Christians.
the delay come through. I want you to produce a single Christian of the 2 billion Christians on this live stream at any time, and I will renounce my faith. If you produce a single
No
Christian
Christian.
who says, hear me out, Claire, produce a single Christian of the 2 billion Christians who says he worships a man. Simple test. I will
No
renounce my faith
Christian
if
will
you allow me to
acknowledge that
interrogate.
Christianity is
Therefore, we
idolatry.
are not
Obviously.
idolaters. Therefore, we are not idolaters by modus
No.
ponens.
You would have to ask the opinion of Jews and Muslims.
Why?
The other,
Why?
the
Why?
other
That's like asking the
Abrahamic
opinion of a.
faiths.
That's like asking the opinion of a Chinese woman what's in the best interest of European people.
No.
Yes, yes,
No. Idolatry
yes,
has a definition. So how would
yes.
you
And what
define
is it?
idolatry? How would you
And what is the
define
definition of
idolatry?
idolatry, Claire?
What?
What is the definition of
The worship of
idolatry?
anything that isn't good.
And what is Jesus to Christians?
Christians worship a man that they claim
No,
to be
they don't.
God without supporting
If Christians
evidence.
worship a man, you should be able to produce such a Christian,
Just
or your
because I
argument
can
falls.
produce idolaters doesn't mean that
I don't
Jesus is
care.
God.
I don't care. If Christians idolatry, according to the definition, it's really simple. I want you to produce a Christian brother or sister of mine that I will perform an inquisition on your live stream, and I will put down that I would renounce my faith if he survives my
Well,
inquisition, or whether he worships a man.
I can
You won't be able to
produce
produce
any
one.
number of ex-Christians who've converted
And
to.
not ex-Christians, Christians. Ex-Christians are
Well, because a
kuffar.
Christian would have to.
An ex-Christian
A
is a
Christian would
kuffar.
have to do what you do, which is to deny the idolatry of Christianity in
Yeah,
order to
exactly. So you
remain
see, so your
Christian.
argument falls down. That's why you weren't a lawyer, because you've been a terrible lawyer. Can you see how your argument doesn't survive even a light inquisition?
No, I've explained to you why Christians would not be acknowledging the idolatry of Christianity, because if they did,
Therefore,
they
we
would have to
cannot be
cease to be
idolaters.
Christian or
Do you
become
understand
atheists.
logic, Claire? Therefore, we cannot be idolaters if we don't worship an idol, can we?
But you worship
But
a
your mama
man.
is an idolater,
The
right?
worship of anything that isn't God is
Correct. But
idolatry. I'm
Christ is
sorry.
king. Christ is
And you
God.
seem to have forgotten about the Ten Commandments,
I
which
think don't
idolatry.
snake away. Don't snake
I'm
away.
still
First of
here.
all,
I'm
don't
still
snake
here.
away. No Christian is an idolater because we don't worship a man. If I'm
What
wrong,
is okay? What is Jesus?
God
And
what?
don't you know the Athanasian Creed?
Oh, don't the Athanasian Creed? What does we believe in one God mean?
Well, that's what Jews and Muslims believe too.
The Christians do.
Yeah, but their God is divided into three entities.
That's because you don't understand the Trinity.
I do understand
Only
the Trinity.
2,000
I even
years,
know how it
1,600
came
years,
to
1,600 years later, 1,600 years later, and the brightest, God bless the Jewish people, the brightest intellects of rabbis, the smartest Muslim scholars, and atheists come, have not been able to crack the Trinity.
I have. Didn't you?
No, you haven't.
You heard. Didn't you hear to the end of the stream with Jim Bowden?
I didn't. I
Hear?
was busy.
Didn't you hear it?
I didn't. I was busy.
All
But
right.
God bless Jim.
Well, listen to the last 5 minutes of the stream with Jim
I will
Bowden.
do. And what was the last thing that Jim said? Jim was
I
saying,
explained to Jim how the
were you
Trinity
snaking
came to
Jim
be.
when he's having a couple of drinks? When he'd have a few drinks in the evening, were you performing your snake tricks on him?
Well, he asked to be on. He's probably drunk again, so that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
whatever he
God
says
bless Jim.
cannot really be. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's obviously disagreeing with himself from yesterday because he's forgotten what he said yesterday because he drank a whole bottle
But
of
that's
wine.
just like you, Claire, isn't it? On the chat earlier, you forgot what you said earlier.
No,
didn't you?
I do remember what you said, Ralph, and
But
it
you
doesn't
don't
make
remember what
sense.
you
It
said.
doesn't hang together. So when you talk about Orban, you do know that the rest of the EU is getting ready to call him a racist. Yes?
Good. Good.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
Call Orban a
Is it
racist.
good for
If Orban defending the Hungarian people in the land and the boundaries of Hungary according to Christianity and not violating Act 1726, and you call him a racist more. God bless his racism, man. If racism means defending the Hungarian people against non-Hungarians in the boundaries of Hungary under God, call him what you want. God bless Hungary. God bless Viktor Orban. God bless his party. He's going to secure the Hungarian nation against enemies from within and outside. But you're batting for the secular EU, aren't you?
No.
You're batting for the liberal homosexual EU, aren't you?
Nonsense. No.
Aren't you?
I
So who would you
have
pick,
been
Orban or the
known
EU?
to be Eurosceptic, and everyone knows I voted
So
to
whose side are you
leave.
on then? Orban or the EU?
All I'm saying is that if Orban uses the wrong scripture, he won't win.
But
So
what's wrong with
while
Orban?
we know that Hungary is known to be Christianity is a spent force. So
Well, to do.
if any European
You know something? I went to
hoping
church.
win,
I went to church 2 or 3 times a week in Hungary. Do you know what I found?
I-
Do you know what I found, Claire?
okay,
I found
somebody's
that-
at the
listen,
door.
Claire.
I'll let you go on.
Listen, Claire. I found that it was literally the pews standing room. the churches were full. And then I learned I had to go early to get in, including the basilica and including small churches. And I found even when I went 30, 45 minutes before the church, it was still full. The churches in Hungary are full.
Ralph,
And
can
obviously,
you just listen to me for a minute? I have to answer the doorbell. All right, you can
okay,
go on.
I'll actually answer the door, Dave. I would deal with the chat.
Hi, Ralph, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Welcome back. Yes, I was just dealing with the chat.
Right.
So yes, of course. So you can see Christian vibrant nations. You can see that, look, I've said this a few years ago, a cold wind is blowing from the east. If you look at it, I've spent the last year and a half in Germany. So to those interested, I'll be in London next week, a little flying visit. I've watched the cold wind blowing from the east, Russia now stepping it up. The Eastern European nations are safe, their blood and soul and spirit reserved for the European people. Western Europe has fallen with the Anglosphere at the bottom. Once we restore it in England, Australia, New Zealand, America will copy it and make it better. The Americans will make it better. And then from the West,
The
we will have
Americans, you trust the Americans to make it better, do you?
the Americans
You're
are great at
crazy.
it.
The Americans have a hole in their heads, basically. You know, that
Why?
is a problem. They're all mad.
Why?
They're
You
all
saw the
mad.
power. You saw the power of my brother Raymond. You saw the
No, I
power of the
don't see the
evangelical
power of
Christian.
it. He has no gravitas. You should know that by now. Nobody. You think Raymond is going to save America?
You know what Raymond does as an activism? He's arming the schools. They're arming them in every church board. What's he
Arming
talking
them.
about? School board. Yeah, of course. The grassroots evangelical movement in the United States is so powerful. You have no idea. There's not going to be a US president without it. You're crazy. The war is coming, Claire. Either you will do this peacefully or you will do it by force. Now, I want it to be done peacefully. I believe there's a peaceful path, a democratic path, a clear path, because the alternative is going to be blood.
Of
But
course.
we are not going to
Which
let,
is why
we're
I
not
have
going to let
secular
foreign filth.
Quranism. I
We're not
have
going to let
secular
foreign filth.
Quranism, and that is how.
Quranism is foreign filth. We're not going to let foreign filth pollute
Well,
and
the
corrupt.
domestic idea is
No, it's not. How can
over.
it be domestic? It's foreign and you're Chinese. There's
No,
nothing
no,
European
no.
about this.
If the Abrahamic God created the universe, then everything in it belongs to him,
Correct? So what?
including Europe, the West, the world, and everything in it. And if he exists, he wants humanity to follow his laws. So,
Correct. And live peacefully apart is one of his laws. Mixing them up
well,
like the
the
Tower of
Quran
Babel,
accepts the
mixing them up like the
existence
Tower
of
of Babel,
tribes and nations.
mixing it up like the Tower of Babel is a sin.
49:13.
It's a sin, Claire. But you won't
What is a
understand this
sin?
because
What is a sin?
mixing it all up,
Well,
like the Tower of
I didn't
Babel is a
start
sin.
it. I didn't start it.
Multicultural,
Empire.
multiracialism.
Empire mixes it
Multicultural,
all up.
multiracialism. Multicultural, multiracialism is ungodly.
Multiculturalism and multiracialism is a consequence of empire.
It's
All
ungodly.
empires are
It's
multiracial
ungodly,
and
and it must be.
multicultural.
It's
Are
ungodly. So
you
would you agree,
saying,
Claire, that it's ungodly?
okay, well, then all empires are ungodly? Is that what you're saying? Okay,
Non-Christian
well,
ones.
then let's dismantle it. Let's dismantle
Exactly,
the global
exactly.
empire that is
Exactly.
America.
So would you agree with me that multicultural, multiracialism is ungodly?
No, there's nothing in the Quran that forbids the
I don't care about the
acquisition
Quran.
of empire.
Who cares about the Quran? Only
Well,
Muslims.
you are a product of the British Empire.
I'm a
Britain-
servant. I'm a servant. I'm not a
You
product.
are
I'm
a
a servant.
product of it.
I'm a servant. I'm not a product. I'm a servant.
It's the same thing.
Notice.
You
Notice.
call,
A product is something that has no intentionality and cause. A servant is a proactive server of it.
I would
I'm a servant.
only
Are you a
serve-
servant of the? Are you a servant of the empire?
No, I am.
No.
I am servant of truth, logic, and morality.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I've
Why?
said nothing that is untrue, illogical, or immoral.
Yes, you have.
But I'm talking to people who are almost to a man Islamophobes who have been driven crazy by their evil, stupid, and insane government. And they don't know what to think, and the only way they can think to get out of it is to go back to the religion of their ancestors, which failed centuries ago.
So China will be Christian, or it will be broken.
I don't think so. I don't think that the
It will be
Chinese are that
Christian, or it will
stupid.
be broken. We will make it crumble if it is not. We will destroy that nation.
The Chinese
As
will be
God
more
intended.
likely to be Muslim. They're more likely to adopt secular Quranism with Chinese characteristics and to.
No one is going to. You don't have a single adoptee of your ideology, Claire.
All
It's
I
only a-
need is one honourable and influential person who sees the danger and who is able to acknowledge
None
the
of them will
truth
speak to you.
of the failure of Christianity and
None of them will
liberalism.
speak to you, Claire,
Yeah,
because of your.
because they are to a man
Because of your-
neurotic
because-
and suffering from Islamophobia.
It's always them. It's never you, right?
Well, I'm always the one here inviting people to challenge my ideas, while they are the ones who can't cope with anybody disagreeing with them without blocking them, blocking
neither can
people,
you, right?
deleting comments. Well, that it is a fact that these people in the alt-right, in the dissident right, they can't even have a dialogue.
Why would
Because
they?
they're so
You're-
afraid. They can't
you're
even. No,
anti-
forget me. They can't even talk to each other.
No, but why would they talk to you when you're
No,
anti-white?
they can't even talk to each other most of
Yes,
the
they
time.
do. They talk to each other all the time. There's tons of private servers.
Yeah, but they
You'll
can
never
only
be- you'll
talk
never be
about
let in-
certain things,
but
and
you'll
they
never be
don't
let
get
into them.
along. They
But
don't get
you'll
along.
never be let into them, Claire, because you're anti-white.
No, I'm just anti-matriarchy.
You're anti-white.
I'm anti-matriarchy.
You might be anti-matriarchy, though you are a matriarch, but you're
I'm
anti-white.
not a matriarch.
But
That's
you're
just a
ducking and
ridiculous thing to
swerving
say.
like the snake. Like the snake, you're slithering away. You are anti-white.
I'm not slithering anywhere.
White people think you're
I'm
anti-white.
going to be here for the long haul.
Oh, you will until you're terminated.
Death comes
Your-
to us
your-
all.
your-
Death
your
comes
ideas.
to us all.
No, but you remember your ideas have no power. No one listens to them, right?
Well, actually, a lot of people are aware of it. That's why they've been rendered so neurotic by them.
No, they're not. Neuroticism is typically a female trait.
But I am
Why?
the mind of a man happily inhabiting the body of a female, conscious of my
That's pretty
feminine
dysgenic.
privilege.
Have you considered transitioning?
No,
Why not?
as I said, I am happily
But I mean, at your age,
inhabiting
Claire,
the body of a female,
But at this point, Claire, you must
conscious
be
of my
sterile,
feminine
right?
privilege.
At this point, you must be sterile. So why don't you transition?
Because
Wouldn't that be more legitimacy? Like
no,
if you,
no. I
because you
think-
seem to be like a
no.
man trapped in a woman's body, right?
Oh, I'm so glad you acknowledge the masculinity of my thoughts
Of
and
course, you're not
ideas
feminine.
and methods.
You're not feminine in your ways. Absolutely.
Well, men find me attractive.
Oh, only dysgenic weak males, right?
No,
No.
I wouldn't say that. It would be an
Oh,
insult to my
your
lovers.
masculinity or your masculinity? Because
Some
you're
men find intelligent women attractive, irresistible even.
really. But do you really think that you're that intelligent? One of my many
People say
skills.
that. Who am I to,
Claire, one of your many skills, one of my many skills is, for example, listening to detecting voice mode patterns, speech irregularity, and one of them happens to be assessing people's IQ. Because I was very interested in IQ at a very young age. And there's a saying that says it takes someone a lot smarter than you to know how smart you are. Do you have any idea what your estimated IQ range is?
I don't know.
No, you don't. Okay. It's a lot less than you think it is.
I don't go by IQ anyway.
Why? You don't like objective measures?
No, because it's just doing those tedious tests.
It isn't tedious tests. Do you know how those tests were designed? They were designed to be able to distribute people's intelligence quotient. You can take the test as many times as you want.
Yes, I know, and then you can school
So do you know?
yourself
So
to
if I
know the
plotted you, if I
tests.
plotted you on the IQ curve, right? Do you think you're more intelligent than most people?
Yes,
How much more intelligent?
I don't know. I would say I'm above average.
You're slightly above average, but not that much more.
Some people have called me a genius, and honestly,
You're not.
I wasn't inviting it.
You're not. Trust me, you're not.
Well,
I would know.
I have solved
I would
the
know.
mystery of the
You would know.
Trinity.
No, I would know,
I
Claire.
understand
Now,
Westerners
forget the
better than
Trinity.
they
Forget run.
understand
Don't
themselves.
snake away. Don't snake away. No. What you have is typically, as part of your PDD, to those in the chat, Claire suffers from something called persistent delusion disorder, like IC3. I had a diagnosis.
What is the nature of my delusion?
You believe Christianity is over.
Well, so do many people.
It doesn't matter. It's a delusion to those in the chat.
Maybe you're the one suffering from a delusion.
Let me educate the chat for you, Claire. A delusion is in the clinical definition, a delusion is someone who has a belief that is rejected or not evidenced by reality. And the reality is, but listen, the reality is Christianity is the strongest.
You just admitted that the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury are liberal.
But Claire, what you're doing is defending your delusion. So let me help the chat. So persistent delusion disorder, like IC3 suffers from, God bless IC3, I love him to bits. The persistent delusion disorder also has other secondary and tertiary traits. Those traits overlap with narcissistic personality disorder. So frequently people who suffer from PDD will be very, very high in narcissism. They will actually believe that they're really special. They'll believe that they're really important. They'll have delusions of grandeur. These are very common traits in the DSM manual associated in a secondary fashion to PDD. So the fact that you think you're very intelligent stuff is just a part of the delusion. Now, there's two ways out of it.
Come on.
Deep cognitive therapy, Claire, or medicine.
You just admitted that I'm above average.
Above average, but I'm looking, you're way below where I'm looking at now. So I have the ability to do this in real time. Now, I'm trying to be helpful here. This is part of my Christian duty, and it is Sunday. There's only two ways out of this. One is deep cognitive therapy. The other is well-known medical approaches, like IC3 is on meds.
A political disagreement does not mean that the other party
disagreement is not the same as delusional. Delusional is actually a clinical.
You have admitted that
delusional is a
clinical. The Church of
England
is liberal. You have admitted that, so
right. The Church of England being liberal does not imply Christianity is dead. It just implies a temporary state of the Church of England.
What about the Catholic? Do you think the Catholic Church is going liberal?
The Catholic Church is being liberalized, but if you look at the global Christian community, it's being met with a strong force, predominantly run by German Calvinists and American evangelists, that have made sure our African brothers and our Orthodox brothers are going more right wing. So we're assuming
Africans are closer to nature and don't have the welfare state to feed a parasitic class created by tolerance of unmarried parents.
This is your narcissism running away again with you. So let me pull you back as a Christian duty to try to heal those that are afflicted. No. So the African Christian community is extremely conservative, on par with the American white evangelical.
They don't agree with the Archbishop of Canterbury.
See, Claire, your delusion is running wild again. As opposed to learning, you're going delusional and you're trying to support your delusion. Because your mind will lock in the delusion and you'll try to find pieces of evidence to support it. I'm trying to tell you the global Christian story right now. The three
They
most
don't
powerful.
agree with the Archbishop of
Listen,
Canterbury.
who cares? I would execute the Archbishop of Canterbury for his treason.
Well, more violence from you again, Ralph. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
a
don't care
little
about him.
concerned
Listen,
about
listen.
you.
But what you're not listening to, because your mind is trying to push away. Common in PDD is you're going to try to push away pieces of information that threaten the delusion. So let me try once more for the third time. The strength of the evangelical, white, Anglo-Saxon Christian brothers and sisters of mine, I think people like Raymond and others, have made sure that the African Christian community is foundationally extremely right-wing and are married with the Eastern Orthodox right-wings of the entire Slavic people. So we expect the little middle belly of Western Europe to fall, and we imagine in our worst case scenario it falls really badly. It's going to be reconquered by very, very conservative Christians like myself that will have no hesitancy to use the sword, that have no hesitancy to burn it with fire, to bring the whole thing down to Genesis 19-year place. And from those ashes, we will restore it. So the macro story, the big story
You're
is that we
proposing
don't.
civil war.
Well, what do you think we're going to do? Roll over and let you sell the Quran to white people?
And
Are
keep
you
order that
smoking
way by
crack?
restoring the
You are in the village.
patriarchy.
You have let the foreigner into the village to
No,
sell
it wasn't I who opened the floodgates of
Yeah, but
immigration.
you're doing it. You're not.
I'm only
You're
dealing
doing
with the
it voluntarily.
consequences.
But you're doing it not just voluntarily. You're doing it with the hatred, the glee, the Schadenfreude when you hate white people.
No, I
I
don't
can
hate
tell it in
white
your
people.
voice.
I am
I can tell
proposing
it.
for
I can tell
them
it in your
a
voice. I can tell in
non-violent
your voice,
solution,
Claire. You
while
cannot fool me.
you,
You
Ralph, are
can't fool me,
proposing a
Claire.
violent solution,
You
and
can't fool
therefore
me, Claire.
you should be treated
But you
with
can't fool me, Claire. I can hear
wariness.
the joy and pleasure when you speak alone to an audience of two and you hiss about white people and you hiss about white men. I'm very good at
Well, they should be
modal,
ashamed of
modal.
themselves. They
Listen,
should be
Claire, I'm very good
ashamed,
at
but
modal.
unfortunately, their
Listen,
current state of degeneracy, they can't feel any
you're
shame.
missing my point, Claire. What you can't conceal from me is the modal frequency of your voice when you take pleasure. I can detect that pattern. That's how good I am at it. You take pleasure in spiting the white man's fall. And for that, you or your offspring will pay the price. You and your offspring will be remembered for your betrayal of the white people. You will be remembered for the betrayal of England.
I have
And
not
have you ever read
anyone.
have you ever read Kipling's poem on when the English begin to hate?
Yes, of course.
And what do you remember?
It keeps. Yes, when the
But
Saxon
do you
begins
remember?
to hate, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
But
but
the
do you remember the
Saxon
but you
does
remember
not
but you remember the
consider
last
himself a
voice?
Saxon.
But do you remember the
And by
last
the way,
verse?
that poem
Don't
refers
away,
to a
don't
time
away.
of the
Don't
Anglo-Saxons.
slither away. Do you remember?
I'm right here. I'm right
Do you
here.
remember the last verse of the poem?
Why don't you remind everyone else?
I can read it from memory. It's one of the things we do in the curve.
I prefer if.
It was not suddenly bred. It will not swiftly abate. Through the chill years ahead, when time shall count from the date. When he says when time shall count from the date, it means your treachery and your betrayal of white people, you and your offspring, will be remembered. We will remember your betrayal. There will be an accounting for your hate. You and your offspring and all the Muslims who raped, all those English girls who were raped by their communities and families, we will remember.
Of course,
And when
they've already been
when the
charged
time
and
will
convicted,
come,
have
we
they
will
not?
remember. We will remember when the time will come. There will be an atonement to be paid, right? And you
More
are
threats of
an account.
violence, more threats of violence, that's all you can do.
Why?
Right?
What's wrong
Because
with?
you
I
run
thought
out
you
of
like.
arguments. You run out of arguments,
I don't
and
run into the office. I never do soft
you
things. What do
have
you want?
to
I rarely
rely
do.
on threats.
Why are you scared of the patriarchy?
I'm not scared. I'm
The
proposing to
patriarchy is
restore
violent.
it.
The patriarchy is violence. We will cuff the child. We will clip the woman. We will take the errant man and we will punish him.
Right.
We are the
I mean,
patriarchy.
that's just going to.
The patriarchy is forced.
Right. So women.
So are you
should
for the
beware.
patriarchy?
European women should be aware of what you propose for them.
I'm proposing nothing to anyone.
Well,
I'm just explaining.
I hope your daughter and your wife know exactly what you have in mind for them.
Why? Why would you bring people's children into things
Well,
like
you're
that?
the one who's been threatening me.
I'm not telling you. I'm telling you what is going to have the
Well,
consequence
I
to
mean,
those who are trade.
I'm sure your wife and your daughter would be
My wife
enormously,
doesn't care
in,
about politics.
if what you think is, well, we're
She
gonna,
knows. She knows about politics. She doesn't care. She's interested in art and high culture and high art.
well, but the
And don't worry
future,
about Ireland.
the
She
future
comes from
that
the
you propose
German
for them.
conservative force. Don't you worry. The German
Look,
conservatives know a thing or two
we
about
all know,
violence.
Ralph, that you're not serious about this. You're just
Of
LARPing.
course, I'm serious
You're
about it.
just LARPing. And
Look at the state of
you
England,
say all
Claire.
these things.
Claire, look at the state of England. You are selling a book that is the book used to rape English girls. This is the filth I have to walk
You
into.
are
You are
conflating
selling
a book
you are
that
selling a
these
collected
sex
book of the
offenders who
people who
come
rape.
from a Muslim background have never read.
You are
That's what you're
selling the
doing
book.
with
You
the
are
people
selling
who
the book,
actually did
Claire.
it.
Claire, you're selling the book
No,
that
no,
raped
it's
English
for
women.
free. It's for
You are
free.
selling the book that raped English women, that killed British
No,
soldiers.
no, you are
You
conflating a
are,
book
are you?
with sex
Listen, Claire.
offenders.
Do you know? Do
You
you
are
know what? Have you
conflating
followed?
a book with sex
No, I'm not.
offenders. There is
No, I'm
no
not. I'll tell you.
connection.
No, I'm not. Have you looked at the court transcripts of the Grooming Act? Have you?
No. Why don't
Have
you
you
read
looked at
it
the?
to us?
Have you looked at the mail? Have you looked at the newspaper coverage of the sentencing? Do you know what they all said? Allahu Akbar and Takbir.
Really?
Yes, really.
Well,
And here
post
you
a few
are.
links.
Here
Post a
you
few links
are.
so we can have a look at
Here
it.
you are selling. Here you are inside the village gate, being clearly anti-white,
And you're
clearly
being
trying to
clearly
do something,
Islamophobic.
and
No,
you
no, no,
expect
because
no
you are
nonsense.
deliberately conflating a book that these sex offenders have never read with the
Oh,
sex
so now
offenders
you're applying
themselves.
the no true Scotsman fallacy to those Muslims. You're not a Muslim, and you're telling a Muslim who is a Muslim.
No, I'm saying that sex offenders are
Seriously,
not the
Claire.
same as a book that they have never read.
Claire, you're telling the Muslims who are
I am
Muslims
saying
who are
that sex
Muslims.
offenders are different, entirely different. You're making a
Why? Why?
category
Oh,
error.
let me give you a
You're making a
hypothetical. Suppose it
category
was
error.
suppose it was your daughter that was gang raped and groomed. Would you care about it?
Obviously,
Ah,
any parent would care
would you still be
if
spreading
their
would you
daughter
still be
has been
spreading
raped.
violence?
But you're saying it's the Muslims. Any person any woman
No, I
who's been
didn't.
raped has been
No, I
raped by
didn't.
Muslims.
No, I
Is
didn't. I
that
have no
what you're
problems with
saying?
Muslims. I have no problems with Muslims. I've said repeatedly, Islam is a
Well,
beautiful religion.
you
There's
want to
nothing wrong with
deport them.
Muslims.
You want to take
No,
away their citizenship.
not just
You want to close
Muslims.
their
Not
mosques.
just Muslims.
I
You
advise
misunderstand me,
Muslims
Claire.
to be very wary of
Claire,
you.
not just Muslims. Who said just Muslims? I didn't say anything about
Well,
just Muslims.
you
I want
know
all of
the
the people who the
typical
British.
Briton is an
No. I want the British.
Islamophobe.
No,
They're
Claire,
not
simple
worried
now.
about Sikh temples or Hindu temples.
Claire, you misunderstand and then you're trying to snake my position. No, I want the British people to decide who they want to live with. The British people want to deport 100,000 Bulgarians and Russians. The British people
Yeah,
decide that.
that's up to them.
Correct. So if they decide to deport Muslims, would you support them?
I would have no choice.
So, but no, would you support them?
I would support due process and the deporting of illegal immigrants. Yes, that's what I would support.
That's a snake answer. Notice the snake, how the
Well,
snake
I don't
works.
care. I'm going to support due process. I'm not going to.
Okay, so the due process says that they would deport people. Would you support due process?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would deport all Muslims if the British people wanted to deport Muslims.
If there is due process, sure.
Okay, so as long as the due process, you're for the deportation of Muslims. I understand. It's very hard to get. It's very hard to get the snake.
I'm certainly
Notice how
not
hard it
going.
is to
No,
pin
I'm
the
certainly
snake
not
down.
going. If there is due process for the deportation of anyone, then I would support it.
Notice how hard it is. See, this is when you say you speak about truth. Any good Christian,
No,
any
because
good Muslim,
you
and any good Jew will see right through you, and they do. You wiggle
what
and you
would they
snake
say?
and you squirm.
They would see a woman who is careful with her words, having been legally trained.
You are not a lawyer,
And
right?
that I support due process and that you do not.
I do not. I reject man-made laws that are not in soil, blood, and soul and spirit as being heresy.
Well,
Do you know how many international treaties the United Kingdom has signed up to, Claire?
so what?
Do you know how many international treaties across
I
all?
don't know. What's that got to do with anything?
15,000 treaties. That's how bad England has been. So when you say due process, my considered intellectual response is fuck your due process. I want all
What has
those
due
treaties. I
process
want
to
the
do
courts
with international treaties? I'm talking
because
about the law of the land.
international treaties are the law of the land, and they take away the sovereignty of the British people because they are the
Oh,
laws
you
in
mean
which
the
they keep the
European
British people
Communities
enslaved.
Act?
Let me give an example: the
You mean the
European
European
Court of
Communities Act
Human refugees.
1972?
Refugees, human rights, all of these things are used to
Okay, well, repeal them.
enslave the British people. They
Repeal
used to
them.
enslave the European people.
Repeal them.
That's the idea. Would you support repealing human rights?
Yes.
You would. So you
Under
remove.
secular Quranism,
No, secular Quranism is a fantasy of a person who's
well,
mentally ill.
I am
How
saying
about
that secular
normal people?
Quranism would repeal the Human Rights Act.
Secular Quranism has got no supporters because it's stupid.
Well, nobody has any
The
idea
moment
what
you,
you're
the moment you,
proposing.
the
Nobody
moment
has
you,
any idea what you're proposing, Ralph.
lots of people have no idea what
Yeah,
I'm
all you
proposing.
have to do is you just keep saying
But you
Christian,
don't.
Christian,
Why would I? Why would I
Christian,
tell?
and
Why would I
and,
tell?
and, and you think
Claire, why
that
would
will
I tell
get you
the
the
enemy?
support
Why would
of.
I tell the enemies? Why would I tell the enemies of the English people what I'm up to?
Because
You're
you're a
an enemy
coward.
to English
You're a
people,
coward.
aren't you?
Either you're a coward or you're a sphinx without a secret.
No. Or what's the other option? You're an enemy combatant.
You're a sphinx without a secret. You have
No.
no idea.
No. Repeating
At
yourself.
least people
Repeating
know
yourself.
what I am proposing.
Repeating yourself is not the same as
Yeah,
providing
you
another
repeat yourself the
option.
whole time.
No, but repeating yourself is not the same as providing another option. What's another option? You don't know because you are an enemy of the English people, right? Who's in the chat who knows? V, do you know what I'm up to? Here's a person who would validate. V, give me a 1 if you know what I'm
V
up to.
is an anonymous troll.
V is English. I know
It
his name.
doesn't
He's not
matter.
coming
It
up.
doesn't matter. He's
You
a
know, it doesn't
coward
matter that he's
who
English.
won't give his
Doesn't matter that he's
identity,
English.
and he identifies with Christianity, and
No,
you
it doesn't
pander
matter.
to
You know,
Christians. You
no, but
pander
Claire,
to
yes, he says
Christians.
V knows, Keo knows. There's people who do
Yeah,
know. Okay?
these are
So,
anonymous trolls.
no, they're
Anonymous
anonymous
trolls.
to you. They're anonymous to you, Claire.
Yeah,
But you know
they're
what the difference
anonymous to
between
everyone else.
no, Claire. Do you know the difference between you, me, and them is? Do you know the biggest difference is?
Secular Quranism.
No, they're English, and we're not. And this is England.
Well,
That's what
it
matters,
doesn't
isn't
matter
it?
that much as long
It
as
doesn't
my
matter that they're English, right?
No, it doesn't
Say it
matter.
again.
No, it doesn't matter about the Englishness of it because the problem is feminism, and you won't talk about that because you fear your wife and your
Feminism
daughter.
is what do you want to talk about feminism? Feminism is a product of liberalism, and liberalism is a product of atheism and secularism.
So we
To
have
get rid of feminism, you must get rid of liberalism. To get rid of liberalism, you must get rid of atheism. Anything to discuss?
to get rid of feminism.
You
just
must
have
get rid
to
of
show,
liberalism.
no, you just have to implement chapter 24, verse 2
No,
of
you
the
can't.
Quran.
No one will respect the Quran. So that's not a solution. What are the other
Well,
solutions?
I mean, it's the only way of restoring the
Are you imaginative?
patriarchy.
Are you imaginative enough to have other solutions? Or is your brain just so locked onto one
No,
solution?
I'm afraid
Feminism
I
is a
can't think of
product.
any other way to challenge
But
and
you
defeat
can't, Claire, but others
feminism
smarter than you.
other than by shaming
You
sluts.
can't because you're not smart enough, but other people are
Okay,
smarter
so
than you.
what is your way? What is your
Okay, so
method
let's accept the diagnosis first. The diagnosis is feminism is a product of Here's my claim. Feminism is a product of liberalism, and liberalism is a product of atheism. The only way to kill feminism is to kill liberalism. The only way to kill liberalism is to kill atheism. That's the problem analysis. The solution analysis, therefore, is to restore those in reverse order.
Well,
Now, you're not going to be able to kill liberalism with a foreign religion because
yes, you
you're never
can.
going to.
Obviously, it's the only way. The only way to replace liberalism is secular Quranism, which is a kind of hybrid
That's a
idea.
limitation of your mind, isn't it? Because your mind is locked on that. You are not imaginative enough to be able to see other options, are there?
I've created.
Can you see any other options? What's your
I've
plan B and
created.
plan C?
I've actually got a solution. You have nothing that you dare tell anyone.
Well, why do you say that when everyone else knows and you don't?
Well, you never tell me what your solution is.
And why did I tell
all
you?
you do
And
is
what was it?
you just go Christian,
What's the reason?
Christian,
What's the reason I
and
just
that's
gave you?
it.
What's the reason I gave you for not telling you?
It was some cock and bull story about
What's the
we must
reason?
hide our idea from our enemies.
No, yes, exactly.
Well, I don't believe.
So
Well,
publicly, openly telling me, I will tell you if you renounce secular pluralism and your support for your anti-white position, and you give me a period of time where you demonstrate you're pro-white, pro-European, and pro-Christian, then I will tell you.
I've been pro-white in that.
You're anti-white.
I have.
You're
Nationalists
anti-white.
have heard of me. They know me
They
personally.
hate you.
Yes, of course they hate secular
Yeah, because you're
Quranism
anti-white.
because they
No, they
are.
hate you because you're anti-white. You're
No,
anti-white.
no, no.
I know
Anti-white.
because they told
Yes, I know
me.
that. I
Right,
know
they
they
told
say
me.
stupid things because they're mostly uneducated
Oh,
plebs.
now they're stupid, right? Now
Yeah, they are
these
stupid.
people are stupid as well.
Yeah, they're stupid. They're
Hmm.
neurotic. They're
You're the clever one, right?
yeah. I'm happy
Yeah.
to repeat that. I think they're low information, low status, low income.
But you're very low information. You've never had a career, right? You're obviously not
It
very
doesn't
wealthy.
matter. It's obvious that I
But
am.
hang on, so you're
I
so
am
you're
a
claiming that
member.
other people are
I,
stupid. You're saying they're stupid and poor, right?
yeah,
Like
they
you look
are.
down on
They're
the English.
stupid. Yeah, they're stupid,
You look down
scared,
on
and
the
skint,
English.
and they can't
You
think
live off the
straight.
English, right? You live off the back like a leech of the English people. Then you abuse them, and then you look down at the English working class. There's one thing that triggers my rage is to look down on working class people, especially if you're not English. If you're not English and you look down the working English class people, you're instinctively, I'm filled with disgust, follow my rage.
I feel pity for
Who
them.
gave you the right to the
I
English
feel
working
pity
class?
for them that nobody cares about them.
Pity. They don't want your pity.
Well,
You're a Chinese woman. You're living on this nation was in rubble and was built by the back of the English working class.
I don't deny
You
that.
walk on the
But the
streets. You
point
walk on
is
the
that their
streets that their
ruling classes
forefathers
don't
paved.
care about them, and
Their forefathers paved the
Labour
street you
Party
walk
don't
on.
care about the working classes if they're not unionised.
Who cares about some political poppycock? When you walk your
No, it's
little
not
fat
political
legs,
poppycock.
listen, Claire, when you walk your little
No,
short
you
fat
don't
legs,
understand the
listen,
situation at all.
you
do
don't
you?
understand. You don't understand the soil in blood and soil and spirit. You don't understand the soil. When you take your little squat flat Chinese legs and you walk on the soil that is paved, it was paved on the back of hours of manual labor by white English
Of course,
working class
that
people.
would be the same anywhere
Now,
in
so
the
white English
world.
class people paved the road that you walk on.
I acknowledge.
So you spit on the blood and soil,
No,
right?
not at all. I feel
Yes, you
sorry for
do.
them that they have been treated
They don't
so
want your
badly by
pity.
their ruling classes,
Who
and
are you to
even by
pity the
the
English
Labour
working
Party,
class?
who claim to
Who are
support
you to
the
pity the
working
English working class? What
classes.
makes you
In
superior to the
fact,
English
the
working
Labour
class?
Party only cares about the working classes if they are unionised, and not every member of the working class is a member of a trade union. So the Labour Party is a traitor, is a class traitor to the working classes. That I understand. Have you gone? It's all gone quiet.
I think you might have muted me, Claire, right?
No, I hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can the chat hear me?
Yeah, I hope so.
Let me just check with the chat.
Is anybody complaining? I can hear you, so I guess a chat can hear you.
All right, because I seem to have been unmuted and muted. I just got to watch for that, right? No, because when you walk on the back or you walk on the streets of the roads that were paved by the English people, and you spit on the gifts of the English people,
No, I don't
because you
do
believe
that
you're
at all.
superior
I
to
am
them.
the only
No,
one who
listen to
cares
me.
enough
Listen to me, Claire.
about them to warn them.
When you take this position, this orientation, that any average white working class people who is unread will know instinctively. He will know instinctively what I mean.
They will know instinctively that they. Yes, I know they are basically. If you're working class, you would be more likely to be racist, anti-Semitic, and Islamophobic. I totally understand their mindset.
And what's wrong with that?
Well, I'm saying that these
What
groups,
is wrong with the white
these
working class
groups,
person wanting to look after? No,
these
no,
groups,
Claire, what's wrong with
these
it?
groups. Let me finish my point. These groups are instinctively demonized by the ruling classes. So the moment you say anything that can be classified as racist, anti-Semitic, or Islamophobic, you are immediately condemned by the ruling classes who have been to university, who know better than the unschooled working classes how to dance around with words. They will be demonized and
You're not
their
answering my
status
question,
lowered.
Claire.
I am
My
answering
question
your
is simpler.
question.
What is wrong with the English working class not wanting to love foreigners and Muslims?
Nothing. I understand.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with the working class then, you're saying, to be racist?
I am saying that the ruling classes do not care about the working classes. All right? I've already told you that the Labour Party...
That's something else to my question. My question was clearer and simpler. I don't care. Don't snake away from the class issue. Is there anything wrong with the working class not wanting foreigners and
I've
foreign
answered
things?
your question. I said.
So you're saying yes, there's nothing wrong. So why did you call them racist then and Islamophobe?
Because I've explained what their displays of
But you didn't
racism,
use it as a
anti-Semitism,
pejorative?
and Islamophobia
Yeah,
does
but you didn't use it
to
as a
their
pejorative.
status. Look, I'm answering your question. You keep interrupting. So
Okay, so you don't think it's a pejorative then? You think it's okay for the English working class to be
it is
xenophobic?
understandable why they would be racist, anti-Semitic, and Islamophobic.
I don't
All
think the white
right?
working class are particularly anti-Semitic. I think they're definitely
Well,
Islamophobic and
you haven't been a
understandable
member
why.
of the BNP, have you?
Oh, I know the BNP people quite well. I mean, I know the
Yeah.
BNP so well. Nick Griffin made videos after
Have you
videos
met?
about me.
Have,
Do you know
have,
Nick Griffin made
have,
videos about me, Claire? Did you see them? He made video after video. He was so upset by me. So don't tell me you don't know about the BNP, right? Now my question
tell
is,
me about what did Nick Griffin say about you?
oh, I promised Mark Collette I would take them down because he was screaming at Mark Collette to get Ralph to lower his videos. I think some people in the chat might remember my series called Knights in White Nighties. They were quite glorious
Well, I'm
streams.
afraid I missed all of that. Please do tell
Oh,
me,
they were
Ralph.
glorious streams again. My Knights in White Nighties kind of streams had got Jim Bowden and whatever it is pretty upset. But that's neither here nor there.
So you know Jim Bowden, do you?
I have contempt for anyone who doesn't defend love and follow spirit. I have no time for them.
What was this?
He remembers. Yes, I think those were the Knights in White. You know, I did have to play some songs as well, like I do as a homage to English
What,
music.
Knights in White Satin?
Knights in White Satin was a theme song for me mocking a Nick Griffin. Nick Griffin should hang his head in shame for betraying the English people. He had an opportunity and he gave it up for corruption. He had the opportunity with the BNP, then he sold out for corruption and money and his ego and his vanity, not unlike you. And the moment he betrayed the English people, he should shut his mouth, hang his head in shame, and go play with his knighties and his little knights uniforms.
Can you tell me what he did that provoked your video?
What provoked it is his opining and bleating after his failure, given the British working class supported the BNP in the 90s. They gave him lots of money, they gave him lots of votes, and he squandered it in corruption. He let in the immigrants. He let in the mass migration. He had the best chance to defend the English boundaries. And what did he do? He served himself.
What exactly
He served himself,
are
and
you claiming
he dares mention Holy Scripture when he should know, back to the principle of selfless, unrequited love, that he should have loved England and the English people before himself. But he chose himself.
Was there something he did?
Yes.
What?
He searched and wanted the money and control of the BNP. You don't know what the BNP went to court? Do you understand that the court trial was only recently, I have enough contacts with the BNP. I have a lot of mates from the BNP days. All the way to the court.
What case are you talking
corruption.
about?
Nick Griffin is corrupt.
What legal
And now he's just a
talking
function of the deep
about?
state. You should do your homework about Nick Griffin. You do your homework about Nick Griffin, come back to me when you've done your due diligence. Right?
Well, why don't you explain to people in the chat who have no idea what you're talking about?
I think most of them will do, or they can find out themselves. Why listen to me? Go do your due diligence.
Okay, so
Nick Griffin was
did
corrupted.
something.
You don't know that Nick Griffin is corrupt to the core, and
Yes,
now
I
he's
know
just
what he is.
okay. Good man, good. Then you have nothing.
Okay,
Then you know
okay.
corrupt to the core. He served himself. He served power. He served glory for himself, not for the English people. And he squandered that opportunity. And because of the consequence of that, every English girl that was raped, he's responsible for not defending England. That's my position, and he doesn't like it, and I couldn't give a shit.
What do you think he should have done?
He should have served the English people
How?
by not being corrupt and wanting money and power for himself.
What would you have done if you were?
I don't care. It's speculative. Because it's in the past, so it's purely speculative. What's the point of speculating about something that is behind us? I'm interested in the future, not the past.
So
he betrayed the English people to serve himself. There is no higher crime. That is a crime of treason and sedition in my eyes.
So
just like you are treacherous, he's more treacherous than you because he is much more treacherous and seditious than you because you have a chance of doing something. You'll never have a chance of doing anything. So you're just like a little irritant. He had the chance with 1 point something million people that supported him around the home counties, across the north, and he squandered it for his ego, his power, and his vanity. That is high crimes for me.
So you're saying he squandered it by failing to win the Berkeley
By serving
by-election?
for the fifth time, by serving his ego and his desire for power.
It has to
and
be
knowledge.
more specific.
Why don't have to? You can do your own due diligence. Women like to gossip.
You're very vague.
Women, the matriarchy
No,
loves
it's just
a
my
little
legal
gossip.
training.
I'm not going to yield to the matriarchy's need for gossip.
No, I just want, specifics, further
Well, why don't you do
particulars
your
of
due
claim,
diligence?
further and better particulars of claim. Now,
Why
have
don't
you
you go ask
met?
Alison? Ask Alison Chablot. She probably knows.
I don't think I think Alison's just sort of into what she's into, and.
Oh, but then ask you. You always claim to have BNP friends. Why don't you ask them? They should know. Have you looked at the last court transcripts of the BNP trial?
No.
Due diligence, my dear.
No, I was pretty. Well, I knew what it was about. I don't have to read the transcripts. Very few people actually get round to reading the transcripts. So, have you met any nationalists at all?
I'm not a nationalist. I keep telling you that.
I know you had something
So I'm not interested in just
with
meeting.
patriotic alternative.
Meeting nationalists is only some other people who want to be do IRL things with nationalists. I'm interested in patriots and Christians who wish to defend England.
So name a patriot and a Christian that you.
I met many patriots.
Anyone with a name?
Why would you like to know that?
Well, just to check
Gossip?
out your story.
Gossip?
No, just to check out your story.
What
because,
story?
Because you pander to these people, don't you?
I don't pander to anybody.
Of course you do.
No, there's a difference between you and me, Claire. I don't care about views, likes, shares, audience. I'm not narcissistic. That goes against my faith.
As long as you get the attention you want, because obviously
I don't care about
these
attention.
people, these uneducated, low information people.
Oh, are you looking down on the English?
That you have.
Are you
a
looking down
solution.
on the English again, Claire?
No, I am saying that the sheeple who are easily deceived, like your
The English, you said the English are gullible.
priestly tones, and they love the fact that some
the English
toff
gullible,
is talking to them, and that's why they come to your channel. And
don't have a channel
the
anymore.
talking
I
points
don't
that they
stream
will find
anymore.
irresistible. So you talk about Jews, you talk about Muslims, you talk about immigration, and they flock to you.
That's not the only
like
things I
flies
speak about.
to
I speak
shit.
about. That's the only thing I speak about. I speak about very complex technical things.
Yeah, but you never specify what it is you propose. But you
Why would
think
I specify
you
it
are
publicly?
Yes,
Why? But why would I specify it publicly? That's strategic and tactical stupidity.
because that is what politicians
Liberals
do.
like,
They
right?
have to say, I know the problem and therefore I have the solution.
That's what
come
you
with
want
me.
because that's your narcissism, Claire.
No, that is
Yes,
standard political practice.
Yes. I asked you a question that was very telling the other day that revealed your narcissism. A narcissist, someone who is an egoist, would want to be me, look at me. It's all about me. That's a narcissist. That's an egoist. That's serving your ego, right? I don't do that. I don't care. I've never been on the internet at all for the first 50 years of my life. I have no interest in narcissism and ego.
So what do you think you're doing?
I know quite a lot of famous people, Claire.
No, narcissists take up people's time and energy while offering them nothing in return. And this is you, because you
But
have
I'm not. A
no
narcissist
idea
seeks
that you
attention.
are prepared to discuss with anyone.
No,
What do you think is the purpose of
Claire, you already proven that was
political
wrong, didn't
leaflets?
you, Claire? But Claire, that
Political
was really.
leaflets are to explain your idea so people know what the hell you're on about. You have
But
never
that's your
written
narcissism, Claire.
anything to
But Claire,
that
that's your
explains your
narcissism.
solution, because
No,
you
Claire,
have none.
that-
You are
Claire,
a sphinx without a
Listen,
secret.
Claire, my solution is out there publicly.
Where?
Right now, 17, just under, as of this morning, yesterday, under 17,000 people have already seen the solution.
Where?
You're not one of
Give
them.
us a link.
Why would I give it to the enemy?
So basically, you have
So
no,
when you say
you have no
nobody,
political
Claire,
manifesto.
hang on, Claire. When you say nobody, that's clearly wrong.
Who are these 17,000 people you keep talking
Just
about?
members of the public. We don't even know their names yet. They're just waiting to embrace it. But
Okay,
you're not part of it
so
because
more secretive
so
stuff.
do you want to know? Then you must do the following thing. You must renounce this nonsense that's foreign filth. You must give me a period of time where you demonstrate your batting for the English in Christendom. Then you can share it
No,
too.
I reject Christianity, therefore I must also
Yeah, and you're
implicitly
anti-English.
reject Christendom. I am saying that these people have got the
Then why
wrong
should you share
religion
in the
and it is
plan?
kaput. And it's
So
so
why should you
kaput
share in the
that
plan? So
liberalism,
what?
which replaced it,
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
also
This is your same
kaput.
boring speech. We've heard the same stuff again
Yes,
and again.
yes.
But no one, everyone, there's no point trying to reiterate the message we've all
Yes,
heard to death.
people will be clear that you
But everyone
want
knows,
to
and everyone
return
knows,
to
and no
the
one's
folly
agreeing.
of
Let's try to be
Christianity.
original, Claire. Try to be original and say original things in a stream. Don't repeat yourself in a stream again and again, right? The point is, you don't know because you're an enemy of the cause.
What is
Like
a
you say, you
cause?
don't back
What
for
is a
Christians, you don't
cause?
back for the English people, and you don't back for white people.
No, I certainly don't
You
back
don't
for
back for the working
Christianity.
class.
I
You don't like
reject
English, white,
idolatry.
working class,
I
and Christian.
reject failure.
Yeah,
I
but you
reject
reject English. Yeah, you
returning
reject
to the
England and the
folly
English.
of Christianity.
Correct. So you're therefore you're an enemy, right? So why should you be
No,
part of the
no,
solution?
plenty of Westerners are not Christian. You don't
All the liberal
understand that.
homosexual ones, right? The liberal homosexual types, the feminists, they're all on your side. So why should we share these things with you?
I happen to know nationalists. I know most of them
Would
are not
homosexuals be punished by
Christian.
death?
Most of them
Will
are not
homosexuals be
Christian.
punished? Will you punish homosexuals by death under secular Quranism?
Of course not.
Okay, so you're not really following the Bible, are you?
No, but there's a punishment in chapter 4, verse
What is the
16.
punishment of the Quran for homosexuality?
100 lashes.
Okay, would you lash English homosexuals?
And Welsh and Scottish.
Well, okay, I use English as a proxy, as the bigger brother of all four
Say
tribes.
British then.
Will you lash the British?
Anyone who is guilty of...
No, look at the snake. Look at the snake.
Well,
Will you lash?
anyone. I assume that there
Look at
might
the
be,
snake.
non
Look at the snake. You're
non-British
snaking.
people.
You're snaking. Would you lash the British? Would you lash the British
Yes,
for homosexuality?
yes.
So you will lash
If they're caught, after due process.
After due process, you will lash the British people, right? The Chinese
100
woman
lashes,
wants to
100
lash the
lashes
British.
per incident of public indecency.
It's like, I mean, this is comedy at another level. I couldn't write this kind of content. I probably think I could, but I couldn't write this kind of content. But it's been another fascinating thing. So unless anyone wants to jump on and challenge Claire, I do have some things I got to get myself in the mood. To all those who don't know, the glorious news is the English Lionesses are playing tonight. So I'm about to put on my entire St. George's flag, and I'm going to walk to Nolan Dorlif Place just to troll all the Berlin homosexuals and liberals by the symbol of the St. George's flag. I'm going to have it draped on me as I walk down, because that gets all the any sign of a cross and a flag tends to get your types very, very triggered, right? You know?
I can
Are you
imagine
going to
you
be
in your
cheering
football
for the English?
scarf and your football rattle.
Will you be cheering for the English this evening?
I am
Colin?
above such trivial things as sporting
You're above
events.
above the English national team, right?
I am above sport.
You're
I
above
think it's
sport.
trivial.
But I thought you
I take
were
the Jewish
masculine.
view that sporting events are to be shunned as a matter of principle.
Now you're Jewish, are you?
I see the point of shunning sporting events.
But that's kind of betraying your masculinity.
What? Men are
The
always interested
patriarchy
in
is meant.
sport
The
because it's a
patriarchy.
form of proxy war.
The patriarchy, right, is to support masculinity and physicality.
I support patriarchal moral values, and this means slut shaming, the shaming of sluts and slut fuckers, and therefore unmarried parents.
That you seem to have some sort of personal thing, right? Because you had a long affair, right? That would constitute sluttiness, right?
I have no illegitimate offspring, and
That's
the
not
only
the question.
people I propose to punish would be people who have illegitimate offspring. At
You won't.
100 lashes per illegitimate offspring.
You're never going to lash anyone. The message I'm trying to get across to the audience is notice how the resistance to supporting anything English, anything patriotic, anything white, anything Christian. There's no beautiful sight but 11 English girls wearing the colours of England against the old enemy, Germany. And if you feel nothing, don't you? Nothing happens inside you. You don't feel anything.
No, I have no interest in female footballers.
But you don't feel
unlike
anything.
you.
but you
I
don't
guess
feel
you get the
anything.
same thrill of women watching
Forget
women
the
running
forget the
around.
thrill, forget the thrill of the grill, but you don't feel anything inside. So one more question, Glenn. You know when the national anthem comes on, do you have a physiological response? I meant to ask you
I
this.
actually dislike God Save
Oh,
the
so
Queen.
you have a negative so you don't feel goose pimples.
No, it's a very
You
dull,
don't feel
dreary
anything that is
anthem.
like
I prefer
euphoric.
Rule Britannia
You
if I
don't feel
had to
anything
choose one.
euphoric. You don't feel anything euphoric.
I'm afraid I think God Save the Queen is very dreary and actually rather gloomy. You know, immediately you think, well, why does the Queen need saving? Is she drowning? You know,
No, but do you think saving?
it should be something along the lines of Rule Britannia, or
You know
to
what?
the tune of Rule
And this is the
Britannia,
problem with liberalism,
because it
right?
was, I guess it's
This is the problem. Do you know what the
hubristic.
1919 version is of the anthem? The one that was suppressed after World War
Oh
One.
yes, confound our enemies and that sort
And
of thing.
do you know the opening line of the second verse? It's,
Tell us.
one realm of races four, bless more and evermore. God save our land. Home of the brave and free, set in the silver sea, true nurse of chivalry. God save our land. But the first line, one realm of races four, is actually saying the thing that they don't want to say. And that's what allows you to be anti-English. It allows you to be anti-white. It allows you to be anti-Christian, anti-European, because you reject the four races in the realm that have given you everything.
No, I do not reject any race. I am saying that Christianity is wrong for any race.
But you reject the races, don't
I'm
you?
saying it's the wrong religion. Whatever your race, it's wrong for Indians,
No, but you reject
Chinese,
the race
black
of the four.
people, white people, yellow people,
No, but
brown
what,
people, white
you're,
people.
you're snaking it again. What I'm saying is you reject the realm of the four races because you don't feel a physiological response to God Save the
What do you
Queen.
mean by the realm of the four races? You're talking about Britain or something? You're talking about what? You're talking
What do you
about
think the
Great
realm?
Britain? What do you
What
mean?
do you think the four races in the realm of four races mean?
Okay, so well, why would I reject, the
Because I'll tell you
Scottish or
why.
the
I'll tell you
Welsh
why.
or the...
I'll tell you why. Both from the metapolitical and aesthetic, all the way to the physical. If I wired you up, like you said, and I put you in front of the machine, you wouldn't feel a physiological positive response when you heard the anthem.
No, I think it's a dreary
Hear
anthem.
me out, and tonight when the English Lionesses are playing the arch enemy in a friendly game, you think you're above them.
Yes, I despise sport.
Yeah, but to despise the sport in this context is also to not be loyal to England.
No, just because I don't take an interest in sport doesn't mean I don't care about the country. I have been doing nothing but trying to define, well, I have defined nationalism, which is government in the national interest, and I don't know if you agree with it or not. What do you think? Do you agree with my definition of nationalism, or do you have some better definition?
It's tautological nonsense. You like to use words not used by any other people. Do you know what a word is in linguistics, Claire? A
It's an
word is a
idea. Words are
no,
ideas.
no, it isn't.
Of course they are.
No, they don't. Let me educate you in the many subjects you don't understand. In linguistics, a word is a shared attention device. So if I said
A shared
car,
what?
a shared attention device. So if I said car and you thought car meant dog, we wouldn't be able to communicate. I think the word car means car and you think it means dog. So when you define words, you must have a common definition. You don't use common definitions. You make them
Well,
up.
idolatry is a good point.
So let's go
A
back to
case in
nationalism.
point, I think
Don't
idolatry
sneak,
means...
don't slither, don't slither.
No,
So
well,
nationalism,
idolatry is a good
don't slither,
example.
don't slither away. Nationalism, as a government defined in the interest of the nation, is a tautological definition. It defines itself in terms of itself. So it's a pointless definition.
No.
It's also not the
Okay,
definition
what do you
that
think
other
it means
people
then?
use.
Find me a better definition.
A nationalism is people put the nation of the people ahead of others. Nationalism is bound in the product of the 30-year war and the peace treaty of Westphalia that says in simple terms, a nation state is the right of an ethnic group to self-determination in a piece of land. That's the political historical definition of nationalism. The right of an ethnic group to have self-determination in this piece of land.
Tell us what the
So
Treaty of Westphalia is about.
Nationalism for the British people would be for the ethnic British people to have self-determination
Yes, I
in
mean
their land.
that's the assumption.
That's the common shared attention device.
Okay,
That's the
tell
shared
us about the
attention.
Treaty of Westphalia. Come on.
The Treaty of Westphalia was formed by it's actually the birthplace of true nationalism. Is when about 5 million Germans died. I have seen the peace treaty of Westphalia myself because my wife's mother's side are from the Münster area. The treaty is held in Münster and Paderborn in Germany. It's when 5 million Germans died for the principle that neither king nor church will rule over the people. After the peace treaty of Westphalia, the peace of Westphalia, the 30-year war, the one that almost half the Germans died for.
8 million people died.
Almost died for the principle that an ethnic group, Claire, an ethnic group will be sovereign, i.e. self-determining in their own lands. So a nation state, is a state in which nationalism, defined as the right of an ethnic group to be self-determinant in their own land, is the only definition of nationalism that matters.
Okay, I'll read up.
England for the English, Chinese for the Chinese people.
Well, that's assumed.
So
what was the 30 Years' War about? Tell us about.
I just did.
Okay, so they were fighting about
self-determination for the people, rejection of rule by king and rejection of rule by church, rule by people in their own land. So the Peace Treaty of Westphalia in political history is commonly known as the birthplace of nationalism.
I would have thought Protestantism was a manifestation of national self-consciousness.
Protestantism came with the individualism effort prior to that by Martin Luther, again down the road from me. But the principle that matters in political history is that an ethnic group of people will choose their own leaders. Their leaders will not be given by relationships between kings and queens and relationships.
Good. So you. Are you a Republican or a monarchist?
I'm neither. I told you. I'm an absolutist.
You refuse to make a. You know
I'm an
it's
absolutist. I'm not
so
a Republican. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a nationalist. I'm not a national socialist. I'm not a libertarian.
No. Are you a monarchist?
No, I'm not a monarchist. I'm a Christian absolutist.
Well, you have to define.
That's the most conservative. Think of someone more right-wing than ISIS, and you're getting close.
I think you're even more isolated than secular Quranists.
Why? I'm not selling anyone anything. That's the difference.
But then what about these 17,000 people you were just talking about? Huh?
That's not me. That's them. They're following a vehicle to which I'm interested in. Yeah.
Who is following what?
They're following a vehicle, but I told you can't be known until you repent and atone your ways. If you want to know, then
I'm not going to buy some black box or a pagan.
But no one's selling you anything. So you don't have to worry about it.
But when you say no one else knows,
but when you say no one else knows about it, but when you say no one else knows, Claire, then you're wrong.
I think you're asking me to come over to your Christian absolutism, and I'm telling you, no can do.
At all. Not at all. You would take a long period of time before you could be trusted.
I am.
One doesn't trust the enemy.
The most trustworthy person in nationalism because
You're not a nationalist.
I put my cards on the table.
But you're not a nationalist, Claire, right?
I'm a civic nationalist.
Yeah, that means you're not a nationalist. Civic nationalist is a liberal. Civic nationalism is liberalism, right?
No.
Yes, it is.
How is civic nationalist?
Can a black person?
China is civic nationalist.
Can a black person?
China is civic nationalist.
Claire, don't snake away. Can a black person be a British citizen?
They are.
No, can they be in your world?
Yes.
So
they already are. I'm not proposing to take away anyone's British citizenship away from them.
But you're not a nationalist. You're civic nationalism.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not a racist.
Who said you're being racist? I can't be a racist. I'm not a racist. I'm a Christian. Christians are not allowed to be racist.
You pander to racists.
I can't be a racist.
You pander to people who want to hear that you're going to kick out non-whites.
God created all creatures.
Well, you yourself are non-white.
God created all creatures, great and small. Galatians 3:28 to 3:29 is crystal clear in scriptures. Black people, white people, brown people, all God's creatures.
Yeah, but you're inviting me to agree with you to
No, I'm not.
deprive black British
No, I'm
citizens of
not.
their passports.
No,
So,
I'm
you
not.
know,
No, I'm not. I'm
okay,
teaching you.
what was the point of
I'm
your question
educating
then?
you. I'm educating you about your lack of knowledge on political theory. You're not a nationalist. A civic nationalist is a liberal. The
No,
nationalism definition is the right of an ethnic
I
group.
would argue that China, which isn't liberal, is civic nationalist. And
China is
it
just a temp. China
necessarily
is
has to be civic nationalist
Chinese.
because
The Chinese people are meek, and the Chinese people are just easily ruled by a tiny minority of idiots. We don't care about the Chinese people, other parts of the world. In England, in English, to be a nationalist, you must support the right of the ethnic people who are English, like you would do in Wales and like you would do in Germany. If you don't give precedence to the English or the Welsh or the Germans or the Nigerians or the Pakistani people in their lands, you're not a nationalist.
I'm saying that
You
obviously.
can't redefine the words and pretend you're a nationalist.
No, I'm saying, if you are the dominant race, whatever, then you will, be the one controlling the interpretation of the laws, won't you?
What laws? The meaning of the word.
Yeah, and this is what I propose.
But what you propose is not the same as using words. You agreed if I said cat and I meant chair, the word would be meaningless. Nationalism. You cannot define
idolatry
that.
is a case in point because
But
our
nationalism.
respective understanding of
Why do you snake?
idolatry is different.
Why do you snake
No,
around?
I'm not snaking away. I'm just giving you the
So stay on
example.
nationalism. Stay on nationalism. Nationalism has a definition that is 400 years old.
No, nationalism was an idea that was first conceived of in, I think,
The
last
30-year
century.
war. The 30-year war.
What was the 30 Years' War about?
Nationalism. The birthplace of nationalism. The peace treaty of
Okay,
Westphalia.
what was it about?
I just answered it 3 times. You just went through this. Is this short-term memory problems again? We just said what the
Okay,
30-year war
so
is.
the 30 Years' War
The
was
30-year war is the same
was
thing
one
as the
of the
peace
wars
treaty of
of the
Westphalia.
Reformation, right?
No, the 30-year war is not important for that reason. The 30-year war is one of the most important wars in the history of Europe. Not
Why?
because of just the church.
Why?
It's
It
arguably
was one
what
of the
happened.
wars
What
of the
happens in time.
Reformation,
What happened
was
from
it
16?
not?
It is, yes, but that's not the reason why it's important. Gosh, your knowledge of so many subjects is so weak. It's not just because of the German religious struggle
Explain
or
it to
the
the
Reformation.
morons and vegetables in the chat.
No,
I don't think they learned about the
you
30
looking
Years' War.
you looking it down on English people just makes my case that you're anti-white.
All right.
But no, let me school the Chinese woman on European history. It is not because of the Reformation that it's important. It's not because of the Peace of Augsburg that it's important. It's not important because of the clash of the Lutherans. It's important because it gives birth to European nationalism. It
Yes,
goes to the
I've
principle.
already agreed with you that Protestantism was a manifestation of European national consciousness. So
Correct.
basically,
There you go,
it was
Claire. That's an
all.
intelligent statement. That's your first intelligent mistake.
I said
So
it.
you look at, so therefore nationalism, would you agree? Therefore, as a consequence, nationalism is the right of an ethnic people to self-determination. Is the reason why, if you went and studied PPE at Oxford, you'd be taught why the 30-year war matters. It doesn't matter for the religious. There are many religious wars going on in the Reformations and the Holy Wars. This one mattered, right?
Why
Because
don't you
it
tell the
ended there.
story of the 30 Years' War
Why?
to the chat?
Why?
Why
Because the
don't
peace.
you? Why
Because
don't
the
you?
peace.
Because they don't know, all right? These
Why are you
people
speaking
don't
down?
know
Why-
about
why
the
do you-
30
why-
Years'
why
War.
do you speak
Why
down?
don't you explain it to them? At least give
But,
them something.
but not just them. I have to explain it to the Chinese woman first, don't I?
Go on.
Because the Chinese woman doesn't seem to understand European
Go on.
history.
Tell me all you know
Yeah,
about the
so
30 Years'
basically,
War.
the origins is basically when the Peace of Passau was ending, right? The Protestants and the Catholics are in a massive war, a religious war. At the same time, certain thinkers had started thinking, going, look, ultimately we are caught in a crossfire between the holy wars, with crossfire from Reformation versus the Holy See. And slowly some of the thinkers started thinking, hang on, the problem really is off, because at this point, liberalism and the Enlightenment had kicked off. Hence, that's why the Reformation had kicked off. And some of them started thinking, but surely the ultimate self-determination is based on ethnicity too, because these were not just religious wars, they were concurrently ethnic wars. For example, the Danes and the Swedes had more ethnic conflicts than anybody else in Europe.
Why?
Without God and with God. So they
Why?
realized that, hang on, the war that was happening was not just religious, it was also ethnic. And then the spark landed after the deaths of Germans to say, what if the best rule is that ethnic people, even if they're Protestant or Catholic, could go for self-determination, free from the priesthood and free from the kings. So that principle gives birth, another great gift to the Germans, to the world, was to say, hang on, therefore a natural nation state is these ethnic people in a land having self-determination and sovereignty. And that is the principle of a nation state. So a nation state is meaningless without an ethnic group.
Tell us about the Holy Roman Empire and its
Let's deal
connection.
with the first target first. Do you understand what nationalism is?
Yes, it's
So
the
therefore, we no
assertion
longer. So therefore, Claire,
of
to be
nationhood. You asked me a
so
question, just
therefore,
let me
Claire,
answer it. You asked me what
go
was
on.
nationalism. You asked me what nationalism was?
No, I asked you, do you understand? Do you now understand what nationalism is defined correctly?
It is the understanding of not national sovereignty, which is the
Did you
idea of
understand anything I said
nationhood
to you?
and the idea of national sovereignty, which means national independence and not wanting to be governed by foreigners. All right?
Correct. So you understood. You understood that.
And what happened during the wars of
So hang
the
on a second.
Reformation
Let me be
were
clear,
all
Claire.
these European ethnicities saying, fuck off, Pope, fuck off.
No, but not just the religious people. Do you agree with me, therefore? Do you agree, therefore, that there's no notion of nationalism without ethnicity?
Yeah, people define themselves by the land they are attached to.
Correct. So that's the soil part, but also ethnicity. Agreed.
Yes, I mean, we all have to come from one ethnicity or another,
Correct. So
and we are
therefore,
all
very good, Claire.
attached to land
Very
and
good,
nation.
Claire. Well done, Claire. So therefore, you agree that nationalism must have at least three components: an ethnicity, a piece of land, and sovereignty.
Yes, that is already
Brilliant.
assumed.
Brilliant.
That is
So
why I
therefore, a
say
civic
that
nationalist. So therefore, a civic
nationalism.
nationalist who lets an Indian person become Prime Minister of England is not a nationalist. Would you agree?
It depends on who you consider a member of your
You can't choose your
citizenry.
ethnicity. No, you can't choose ethnicity. Don't introduce new words.
No, because
Yes,
to all
yes.
intents and purposes,
That's
Rishi
just a
Sunak,
snake-like
I
expression.
guess you're talking
That's a
about
snake-like
him.
expression. Snake-like expression. You just agreed that nationalism had three words: ethnicity, a piece of land, and sovereignty. Therefore,
No, it's
a
not
system
national, that is
that allows
nationhood.
no, Claire, hear me out. Therefore, a system that allows an Indian person to become the Prime Minister of England cannot be labelled nationalism. Would you agree? It can be labelled something else, but it will not be allowed to be called nationalistic, right?
In
Let me give you a
theory,
simple
in
example. No
theory,
English white man is ever going to be the Prime Minister of India or China. Ever. India is one of the most strongest ethno-state in the world. It's not even an ethno-state, it's a fascist state. It's not even, no Englishman, no black man, no white man, no China man will ever be the Prime Minister of India.
or
The
China,
nation state. Or China.
or Japan.
So therefore, these are nation states. Would you agree, therefore,
No,
England
no, not
is not a nation state?
necessarily. Not necessarily.
Why? You're contradicting yourself. You keep
No.
agreeing to something and then you snake away from it. Do you
No,
agree? Let's go back.
okay,
Do you agree a nation state is a nationalism, is ethnicity, a group of ethnic brothers in a piece of land having self-determination? When I introduce an Indian prime minister, not of the ethnic group, in the land of England, not in their soil, to have sovereignty over them, that nation is no longer a nation state.
In theory, Britain is still a nation state capable of asserting
But not
its
nationalism.
national sovereignty. Unfortunately, its ruling classes are too frightened of doing
You're
so.
ducking my question.
I'm not ducking, I'm explaining
So
to
is
you
that-
the
is that therefore
situation.
no longer-
If you
simple
allow
question,
me to
yes or
answer
no?
the question. So,
Yes or no,
so,
please?
so what are white English people to think faced with the prospect of having either a woman or a Hindu as their prime minister? Obviously, they fear it and they are.
I don't care if it's failed or succeeded. All I want to care is that would you agree in my criteria of the use of the word nationalism? This segment of the
No,
conversation
I don't
came
agree
about.
with you. I don't agree with
So
you.
you disagree with the political definition of nationalism. You want your
No.
own definition. You want a clear definition.
Yes, obviously, we don't
Therefore,
agree
you're just
on
basically
our
speaking.
definitions.
So therefore, the
So
majority
I
of
am
people.
saying, if you will allow me to say, to finish my sentence, and it is this, that in theory, Sunak, if elected, could govern in a national interest. I don't predict that he will, but in theory, he could be the best prime minister in the world, governing in a national interest, in theory, but I don't think he will.
But okay, but now can I answer my question a yes, no? Would you agree such a system is not nationalism? Yes or no?
No, because if you're a civic nationalist, you're going to
But
say
again,
that.
you see, Claire, you make up a new word.
No,
I
I
didn't
am a
use the word
civic. I am
civic.
civic nationalist. So
I
you
don't care
don't
what you
expect
are.
me.
I don't care if you're a civic nationalist
Okay,
or
well,
Chinese.
this is how I define nationalism. So if
Okay,
you're a
but you are, but
citizen,
you see,
if
but
you're a
you.
citizen of the country that you're talking about, then you
So
are a
that's not
member of it.
nationalism. But that's not nationalism. You agreed, and this is the problem people have with you. You're so disingenuous. You just agreed 3 minutes ago to the definition of nationalism. You
No,
in your own words agreed.
I have my own. I have my own definition
So
that
which
you
is it?
disagree with.
So you have your own definition that no one else agrees with.
Some people agree with it.
I don't care about that, but your definition is not the word. If you went to Oxford and you studied PPE, which you haven't, you wouldn't be told that definition.
Yeah, because they're full of shit, aren't they? Or
Oh, Oxford are full of shit as
anybody
well.
who does
The
PPE,
Chinese lady knows
anybody who
more than
does
Oxford.
PPE at
Yeah,
Oxford
yeah.
is full
So
of
you
shit.
know more. But if I ask you
Cameron
simple
did
questions, if I ask you
PPE
simple
at
questions that a
Oxford.
first year would know, you would see who knows more. You are there. You don't, do you? Yet here you are, a
Know
Chinese
what?
lady
Know
telling the
what?
people,
What do you want me to know?
telling the people of
Yeah,
England what
I
the
do tell
English
them,
people
and
say.
I speak more clearly to them than any of their politicians.
Oh, but no one cares what you say. It's not
Okay,
this clear.
okay.
It's not the
You're
clarity
not
of your
caring.
speech. It's not the clarity, Claire. It's the content.
Yeah.
Your voice might be clear, but your content is drivel.
I think people
It doesn't
understand my
matter if
reasoning,
drivel.
they
It
just
doesn't
don't
matter if I
like where
deliver
it's going.
drivel delivered in a clear voice. It's still
Yeah,
drivel.
and it's clear to them that I'm
Clear
saying
drivel.
Christianity is kaput, and they can't
You
deny
see,
it, and this drives them
the snake
mad.
runs away. The snake runs around and runs
I'm
away.
still here,
Okay,
and I
so you're
still
running
say
away
the
from the
same thing.
conversation. So again, so you agreed, and now you disagreed with yourself. So which is it? Do you agree with the political definition of nationalism as per the 30-Year War and the history of the European people, or do you want to make up your own definition no one agrees with?
I agree with you that
Thank you.
Protestantism is a manifestation of national self-consciousness amongst the European peoples. Is that good enough for
Yes,
you?
I could have about 5 or 10 minutes before I drape myself in the flag. So nationalism, therefore, if you agree, and I believe you have agreed, that nationalism, you will no longer, Claire, use your other definition. Otherwise, you'll be known as a liar, right? If you
No,
ever say nationalism,
my definition of nationalism is still government in the national interest. I
so
want
you're just lying. So are you lying just now on the
no,
screen? But you
neither.
just see this is the problem, Claire, why no one cares about what you say. Even when you get you to agree with something, 2 sentences later, like a mad person, you disagree with yourself.
No, because
You just
the first
give me a one.
proposition does
I'm
not
sorry. Give me a
contradict the
one in the
second
chat. Give me a
proposition.
one in the chat if Claire just agreed to the definition of nationalism
I
twice.
No, I said, listen to me carefully. I made two propositions. The first one is that Protestantism is a manifestation of European national consciousness of the individual European ethnicities, and nationalism is government in the national interest.
So you just
Those two
lied and
propositions
disagreed.
do not
Sorry,
contradict
if we
each
replay the
other.
stream, Claire, we replayed the stream. I don't know if you're mentally ill. You just agreed with me twice. Everyone in the chat can hear us. You agreed twice with the definition as per political history. Are you now backtracking on that definition?
No, I'm not backtracking. I'm
So
asserting.
the definitions are incompatible, Claire.
No,
Which one? Which definition do you want? Your made
I
up one
said
or what?
neither. They do not contradict each other.
Yes, they do.
How?
Because if nationalism is defined as a people and ethnic stock having sovereignty in a land, nationalism in its own interest is just a tautology. Do you know what a tautology is?
Something that says the same thing.
Correct.
Like tuna
Nationalism
fish.
is government. Nationalism is government in the national interest. It's a
Or Jewish
tautological.
rabbi.
It's a tautological definition. It's meaningless. It has no semantic content.
No.
That's like saying
It is a very
tall people
useful
are tall.
concept. It is a very
Tall
useful
people are tall.
concept. Shall I demonstrate to you why?
No, you don't. No, you I want to stay
You
on one
won't
point.
allow me to demonstrate to you why nationalism, as I define it, is useful?
No, I want to know what
You
it
don't
is.
wish to challenge me on this?
No, I can't get off the word nationalism because your meaning of the word nationalism is pointless. Telling me some concept is useful is
I'm glad
pointless
you
until
find
the
it
concept.
tautological.
So it is tautological.
Well, I'm
You're
glad
using
you
the
think
same
it's
word. You're using the
tautological,
same
but
word
actually
to.
it is
No, you're
necessary.
using the same word to define itself. Simple question, black or white question. Do you agree for the third time? Is a nation state or nationalism the sovereignty of an ethnic group in a land? Yes or no? Not a paragraph answer. Yes or no?
Well, it should be the people in it, right?
Yes, the ethnic group. Let me give you an
I
example.
assume
The
that it would
Chinese.
be
Let me
the
give you an example.
dominant ethnic group.
No, not a dominant ethnic group. Just the ethnic group. Let me give you an example away from
Yeah, but
England to
what
make it
there will
easy.
be.
If the Chinese, when the Chinese
All
overrun
countries
Tibet,
have ethnic minorities, right?
okay, let's say the ethnic majority.
Yes, that's what I mean.
So
Because
the
in
ethnic
practice, it will
majority, the
mean
ethnic
that
majority for
the biggest group
so the
gets its
ethnic
way.
majority, so for the ethnic majority to have sovereignty, the minority should not be able to have any voting rights.
Well, are you proposing to completely
I'm not proposing. I just want the
dismiss the
definition. No,
interests
no, no,
of the
no, no. I want to
minority and
pin.
that the
I want to pin
minority
the
should
snake. I
surrender
want to put the
itself
snake.
to the
I want to
majority?
use my fork to pin the snake to the ground and not let it wiggle away. It wiggles the snake. I want to pin it down on a single word and a single definition. A nation state, as an example, when the Chinese run into Tibet, they violate the national sovereignty of the Tibetan people. The majority minority means nothing. The Tibetan people are sovereign in Tibet or they are not.
The
The
conquered
English people,
people.
the English people are
The
sovereign
conquered
in
people.
England
The
or not.
Welsh are
So do
conquered
you agree?
people.
So do you agree that the English people being sovereign in England is the definition of nationalism for the English people?
I think you mean the British people, right?
English in England, Britain in Britain is just again sliding and slipping.
No, it's
The British
important
people,
because I think the Scottish and the Welsh should feel a
okay,
little
here's sliding. The
excluded.
ethnic British people, by which I mean only the English, the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish.
What about people born in England who are not
Not
white?
ethnic.
Okay,
Not ethnic.
so you're going
Not
to kick
ethnic.
them out, all right?
No, you're
No,
sliding and slipping
just
like the
make it
snake.
clear. Just make it
Slide and
clear.
slip like the snake. The snake
No.
slides.
I
The
need to hold
definition
you to your
is the
definitions
definition
too.
declare.
So
The definition
basically,
declare. The definition is ethnic
you
sovereignty. Is
wish
it that
to.
difficult? You'd have been a terrible lawyer. The judge would have forced you to answer questions.
I do answer questions, and you keep interrupting
So
me.
again, you're not answering the question. Ethnic sovereignty for the English, Scots,
Yeah,
Welsh, and
if
Irish in
white
the
people are the
5,300
majority
islands.
in Britain, then hopefully
No,
they will
no
get their
adjectives,
way. They will get their way.
no adjectives, no clauses, no qualifiers, no dilution, no snaking and slippering.
There are
The
exceptions to
ethnic
every rule.
the ethnic sovereignty of the English, Scots, Irish, and Welsh in the 5,300
Well, I'm
islands.
certainly not going to subsume the rights of minorities.
So you're not a nationalist.
Yes, I am. Yes, I
No,
am.
you're not.
Because it would be in the
No, you're
national
not.
interest to have harmonious relations between all groups of the nation. And if you're going to oppress any group in the nation, then you won't get peace without justice. And I'm saying secular Quranism
No justice,
would
peace sounds like
give
something
the
you should
most
chant.
justice.
No justice, no peace sounds like something you should chant on a Black Lives Matter march. But all I have demonstrated unequivocally is that you are not a nationalist by the meaning of the word nationalism that any of the people around the world would agree with. The Pakistanis would agree with this. The Indians would agree with this. The Yemenis would agree with this. The Chinese would agree with this.
They would agree with me
But
that
you
nationalism
don't
ought to
want
be
it
government
for
in the
the
national
English.
interest. And they would want a government
the
governing
rights
in
of
the national
minority.
interest.
You want the rights of minorities to be protected against the will of the majority.
Of course, I want to protect
Therefore, you are not a
minorities. You would be
nationalist.
crazy if
You
you
are
are
a
a member of a
liberal.
minority and
But you're
don't want to
liberal, aren't you,
protect
sweetheart?
minority rights.
You're a Chinese liberal in English land.
It's ridiculous to call me liberal, and you know it.
You are liberal. You care about the rights of minorities.
Yes, of course I do.
You're a fucking liberal. Only liberals care about
Well, I
minorities.
mean, if you want to kick yourself out of Europe,
Alhamdulillah.
well,
Oh, subhanallah. Allah is clear about the truth.
Well,
The truth should be
I
out
have.
there.
I'm
You are
not
just a
ashamed
liberal.
to
Why? I have a
protect
big question, Claire. I really have to go
the
because
rights
I
of
have to go to meet some.
minority.
I'm going to meet some German girls soon, so I'm going to go talk about German girls in football. But why do you court the attentions, other than your need to covet? Why do you court the attentions of the English nationalist movement when you disagree with the fundamental principle of the nationalists? Why do you court their attention? Why do you beg for the people to
Well,
listen to you?
because I want to define nationalism as government in the national interest, and they can't bring
So you want
themselves
to
to
you
do
want to
that.
you want to go against their value system?
No,
I
have
think
they a
I'm
value
telling you that
system?
every nationalist would
What is
agree with
their
me
value system?
that the ethnic stock of a nation
Yeah,
should have
if
self-determination
they
in their
are
own land.
if they are the biggest group in the country, then they will have power to interpret secular
Wiggly,
Quranism in the
wiggly,
way
where
that they like.
the snake is running and
No,
sliding. But my
I
question,
have
my question,
explained to
Claire,
you that if
my
they are the
question, Claire.
biggest group, they should
Mm-mm.
be able to get
You're
their
sliggering.
preferences
I don't care about your secondary definition,
prioritized.
Claire. You're just secondary definition. Why are you courting the attentions of nationalists when you disagree with their fundamental moral
Because I believe
principle?
secular Quranism to be in the national interest,
So it's
because
a
it is in the
vanity,
national interest to restore the patriarchy.
but that's not what they believe.
Well, I know they're too afraid of
But you
their
don't
own
agree with
women
their foundation. But you don't. But
to
you
challenge
don't share the same
feminism.
morals. But you don't share the same morals as them. So why are you courting their attention?
Because I say secular Quranism would be in the national interest because it's the only thing that would restore the
But you don't know what
patriarchy.
national interest means. I've just demonstrated by a Christian inquisition that you don't even use the word
They're
nationalism, and
not
you
Christian.
slithered.
These
And you
nationalists you
slid.
pander to,
No,
they're not
all my
Christian.
inquisitions are Christian inquisition. John 8:32. You shall know
Well,
the truth,
if you
and the
want
truth shall
to
set you
if
free.
you want to restore the Inquisition, then that would be controversial, and lots of nationalists are not Christians, nor are they Catholic, so they wouldn't relish the idea of burning heretics at the stake, nor of another Inquisition.
Forget all this burning people at the stake and all this sort of thing. No,
Well,
the truth of the matter is quite simple. Let me leave you with a quote from one of my favorite gospels, and it's really quite clear. It's not just when John 8:32 says, Claire, and this is the difference. This is why my Christian inquisition against the snake works. John 8:32 says, "You should know the truth and set you free." But 12 verses later, John, speaking as a proxy for God, says the following, and you should take this to heart. He says, you belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Lies will always be beaten by the truth of the Logos. And what you've done there, I know you have some mental health problems, I understand that, but you slithered and you slid like the snake in the Garden of Eden. And I beg you, I implore you to consider becoming truthful, Claire, to be able to
I
accept
am
the
known
truth.
for my
So
submission to
John
truth, logic, and
8:44,
morality,
yeah, but the
and for the
truth,
clarity of my message.
no, it isn't. It's a lies. The
People
lies
know
inside
exactly
your
what
serpent.
I propose. You're the
There's
one who
lies in your
refuses
heart,
to say
Claire.
what you propose.
When the
But
lies in your
there's a lot
heart,
of violence in what you
lie
propose.
when the lies in
A
your
lot
heart,
of
Claire. No, when the lies in your heart,
expulsions,
everything that comes out of your mouth.
inquisitions,
No. Everything that comes out of your mouth is a product of the lie in your heart.
domestic violence.
No. This is just random words, like someone with
You've
Tourette's.
already made
The,
jokes
the lies
about
in your
wife
heart, Claire.
beating.
The lies in your heart, Claire. The serpent is not a physical metaphor; it's an actual spiritual metaphor.
You can
And
say
the
what you
serpent
like,
is
but
this.
nationalists know me and have met me. They know what I'm about. You
Someone said,
haven't
"Oh,
met
okay."
any of them.
No, this has been a glorious session, of course, Claire, and I have accommodated you. I recommend you turn to the Gospel according to St. John to purify yourself.
I'll have a read of it.
I do have a read of the Gospel according to St. John. If you can't handle the truth, then maybe you will remain in perpetual state. And I must go because there's some beautiful German women who I'm going to throw the fuck out of draped in the flag of England. Guten Abend, dear. Peace be
Enjoy
with
your
you.
game.
I
Enjoy
will do.
female football, Ralph.
I will. England.
Well, I hope hope you've all had fun. Thank you all for coming. Oh, I should read the chat, shouldn't I? All right, let's see if there's anything intelligent in it. Obviously, I couldn't argue with Ralph and also deal with the chat. So Jim Bowden says, anyone in Australia cannot be Australian even though they hold Australian passports if they're not white. So this is Jim Bowden's position. It doesn't reflect the current legal position, does it, Jim? And if you want to change the law, you have to get into power. And this is kind of the sort of thing called due process. Which, as a lawyer, Jim ought to respect. So Colin Colenso says, I was hanging out with Nazis. They might be anti-Semites. I just, they're just common or garden anti-Semites. And most Westerners are anti-Semites. A lot of them are. Maybe about half of them, I would say, from personal experience. There's just always, they've always said things about Jews, I just wouldn't call them Nazis. It's impossible for these people to be Nazis since they're not German. They just don't like Jews. Yes, I do have my own definitions for words, KB, because it is necessary to define words and ideas properly, and I define government. Nationalism as government in a national interest. And that sentence implies the existence of a nation which has interests. Thank you, Phil Strange, for saying that I read my script well. In fact, I wasn't reading at all. So Mr. Hatt says, nationalism is not only biblical, it's sensical. That's not really a word, I don't think. It's the oh dear of self-governance. He misspells words. Perhaps he's drunk. Lots of Australians are at this time of day. Well, I'm sorry. That woman, I couldn't get Sam to come. I did ask him, but he hasn't answered. But it's nice to know that you now like Sam and you specially request for his presence. And you've got over your hatred of him. He kind of grows on you, doesn't he? Effluent for you agrees that Sam would straighten Ralph out. Yes, he would. Phil Strange says the only law that matters is God's law. Indeed, God's law's in the Quran. Obviously, I'm not liberal, because if I were liberal, I would be part of the liberal establishment and I would be in some high status position with a column in the Mail, my own radio or TV show. But since I'm not, since I propose a one-party theocracy, then I can't be said to be a liberal. So whatever Jesus was reported to have said in the synoptical Gospels, you can't make a law out of the vague extremist statements that he made, but you can with a Quran which contains God's laws, clearly stated in terms of commands and prohibitions. So that woman, I don't know what you're trying to say. Today my husband and I were discussing the Heavenly Jerusalem project and I found out he was unaware of 109. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. I've gone through the chat. It's been 3 hours. Thank you all for coming.